Hello and welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Today's guest is someone that I actually met here in the studio when he was a guest on Drew Hennessy's Let's Talk podcast. Daithí Ó Cuín was introduced to me as a friend of Drew's, a physical therapist who had helped him with all sorts of pain and ailments, and who had a very powerful ability to heal and help many people in many ways. So naturally, given my background in injury management, I was very interested in hearing his story. However, I was not prepared for the unbelievable stories Daithí told over the course of 2 episodes on Drew's show. Daithí's journey through life has taken him from a difficult and turbulent childhood on what I can only call a series of wild adventures, starting in Ballymun and taking him as far as places like the front lines in Iraq, all in the name of helping others and finding purpose. When you meet Daithí, this bearded, tattooed, motorcycle riding warrior, you expect a bit of a gruff nod and a grunt. But as you're about to hear, he's one of the most engaging, friendly, charismatic and warm people you'll ever meet, and his story is simply amazing. So settle in and enjoy the show. Welcome to our shared journey to find the answers to questions about health, wellness, nutrition, performance, life and success, and to craft the most resilient, hardy and happy humans you've ever seen. Welcome to the Primal Podcast. The wise and the magical Daithí Ó Cuín.
Hello, brother. How are you?
Introduction number 2, because I'm after fucking up the recording the first time.
That's all right.
Number 1, thank you very much again for joining me here in the Primal Podcast.
My pleasure, brother.
It's a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure.
I'll give the little spiel I just gave 2 seconds ago. I'll give it
Right.
again because we weren't recording. We first met through the wonderful Drew Hennessy, because you were here on Drew Hennessy's podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I had the privilege of sitting here recording, listening to you on 2 episodes, talking about your life and your story. And as I said, all honesty on the table, because I'm a very honest man.
Yeah.
The only reason I run a podcast studio so I can bring people's clients and guests in and steal them from my own
That's
podcast.
all right.
So shout out to Drew. But genuinely really appreciate you being here. And
My pleasure. Anytime.
I've been looking forward to this conversation. You might regret saying any time now, because
No, honestly, anytime. I love the chats, especially if I get coffee and chocolate protein.
coffee.
bars and
We don't do chocolate in here. We're very health
I'm
conscious.
very
so
health conscious.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But to kick us off, because I'm sure we're going to go on a wonderful journey here, talking about all sorts
as I do, yeah.
all sorts of things. Would you mind, for anybody who hasn't listened to Drew's podcast before and may not have heard your story, would you mind giving us a bit of background into the man who is Daithí Ó Cuín, where you came from, and kind of what has you sitting here in front of me now today?
Okay, right. Well, it's a weird and wonderful journey, so I'll just try and compact it in a little bit. Originally from Ballymun, grew up in Ballymun. Left Ballymun about 16-ish, because the home life wasn't very safe. There's a lot of violence and whatnot in the house, and all kinds of weird, horrible abuse. Ended up going and living on the streets for a couple of years. Met some wonderful people along the way. Got into organised fights when I was young, you could say that, I suppose. I don't make much money. I was just asked to do it because I felt like a righteous person, and I was seeing a girl getting a slap in the head off a fella, I would take offence to that. And then I got known through certain people and the organised group. Anyway, I ended up in a hardcore rock band. I had hair down to my waist. I wouldn't know that now.
If you're watching the video now, you can see it's no longer the case.
No. I met a load of other lovely, wonderful people. I was involved in the setting up of living history and battle reenactments in the country. We got involved in doing movies like the likes of Braveheart. I was in a documentary on Discovery Channel about Brian Brew. Then I did a little bit of stunt work just for small budget movies, just helping friends out. Then I kind of, I had loads of different jobs in between then. And I kind of didn't last in a lot of jobs because I found that I wasn't able to work for people who are ridiculously stupid. I was dealing with my own stupidity. So I ended up getting into physical therapy.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I do now. I do all aspects of manual therapy. So, I mean, I do spinal adjustments, I do massage, I do trigger points, do the whole lot. And I got into that by accident. It was my wife at the time, she blew her back. L4, L5 and S1 completely destroyed it. But the problem that she had was more of an emotional problem than it was a physical problem. And we'll get into that at a later stage.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I grew from there. My friend, Mr. Austin Bradshaw, who was just one of my gurus, is just a lovely man. I love him. I call him my big brother. He's just a wonderful human being. So he basically said, I'm going to show you some stuff. You'll be able to look after Jackie, save you a few quid. I wasn't working at the time. And then he went, "Ooh, you have a bit of a knack for this." I'm like, okay. So he got me into college, and I'm highly dyslexic, right?
Okay.
So reading and writing and numbers, forget about numbers. It's just if you wrote 1 to 9 on the table, I would have a massive problem trying to figure out what was what.
Really? Eh?
Yeah, massive problem.
Okay.
So we went and we did the exams for college, and they had a tutor sit with me in the exams, and I was sitting in a separate room, obviously with the tutor, and he would read out the question, explain the question. I would give him my answer, and he would go, "Is that your answer?" And I'd go, "Yes," and he would write down exactly what I said, and I did really, really well in the exams. Manual stuff, it just seemed to click with me.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky that way. So yeah, with that kind of side of my work, I mean, I've got to work with UFC guys.
Wow.
And most of my clients are my friends now, so I've got about 50 million friends. UFC guys, professional boxers, professional motorcycle riders, professional singers, professional actors, pretty much anybody, disabled children. My oldest client is 88, and I kind of look after all aspects of not just what I do on the table on the plinth when I'm working on them, but how we reset things to get them push forward into a healthier lifestyle, mentally and physically, and spiritually and emotionally, all that kind of stuff. But then during that journey, I met another guy who I'd known on the periphery, through other friends of mine, and he's one of the best friends I've ever had in my life. He's a wonderful human being, highly intellectual guy. I won't mention his name because of other stories that will come to later on in the podcast. But I ended up going to weird and wonderful places in the Middle East. I went to Iraq and all these other places during war times, and I got to see some weird stuff and experience some weird stuff. And at one point, we ended up in the White House. I ended up in the Pentagon and Capitol Hill. So, yeah, that's a brief...
This is the point, right? We're only a few minutes in, and this is the point when you were on Drew's podcast, and I was sitting there, and he had explained to me who you were and your background and injury management, physical therapy, all that kind of stuff, your interest in history and all that, and the fighting side of things. And then you started telling a story, and all of a sudden you were talking about the Middle East and the White House and stuff, and I was like, hold on, this isn't the story that I heard. There was a whole nother world you were talking about there. So even if it had only been, because where I'll probably start with you, because there's so much in the story. Where I'll probably start is the physical therapy and the healing and that kind of stuff, because that's why I initially was like, that is a cool, I'm into this kind of stuff. He's into this, I'd love his perspective on it. And then part 2, we'll delve into this Jason Bourne madness that I was sitting there going, what the fuck is this? This is not, I didn't expect this at all. So just so people know that's coming, brace yourselves, stick on the kettle, because it is coming. But to start off in my world, where I'm very familiar, is healing, because I'm an athletic therapist. Well, I trained and practiced for a long time as an athletic therapist, injury management, working with clients, I worked in a clinic, you're dealing with people. And what really struck me about your approach, I've never been to you as a client, I didn't know you before, Drew, but immediately I could see that you're somebody who really values the big picture when you meet somebody.
100%, yeah.
It's this word holistic gets a bad rap, but it's a holistic approach where you're looking at all the different parts of a person to try and, what's your goal? Your goal is to get better. Let's look at all the bits. What's your goal? To perform. Obviously you work with fighters and performance. Let's look at all the parts. So it's a very, very inclusive approach. We had a brief conversation. I say this all the time, really annoys people, but I'm going to say it again. We had a brief chat before we turned the mics on. Brief. And we were discussing all the extras that go into helping somebody get better or to improve the way that I want to improve or to achieve a goal. And it's something that people are really starting to get a feel for now, because when you go to, and I'm not going to bash, because it sounds like I bash people a lot. When you go to, I'll use myself as an example, an athletic therapist or a physical therapist. In a lot of people's heads who aren't familiar with this world, it's a very linear progression. I have a sore knee. I'm going to go to you. I'm going to get on your table. You're going to do all these movements that you only know how to do because you went to college. And my sore knee is going to be better. But from our side of the table, when someone comes in, it's so much bigger. And I found, and subsequently found out that you're the same, that speaking to somebody and understanding the bigger picture, who they are, what they do, how they live their life, is a much more important thing.
Absolutely.
But talk to me a little bit about how you came to that understanding, because what I know about you is you have a waiting list as long as, as from here to the moon.
I'm very lucky that way, yeah.
You deal with your clients in a very, very different way than just patients. They're people who come in with stories, and you have a very holistic approach to that. Where did you develop that kind of approach to working with people?
I think it was always in me, you know. I'm a very soft, caring individual. Mightn't look like it, but I'm a very soft, caring individual, and I'd be an empath, you know. And I'd soak up people's energy, and I was treated certain different ways as a kid growing up in the home and outside the home. I understood what it was like to be bullied and treated like a bag of shit. I was understood what it was like to have no food. I was understood to know what it's like to not have any emotional support or any of that kind of stuff. So my kind of outlook is, I don't want anybody ever to feel that way. If I go to, say, somebody like you as an athletic therapist, I want you to treat me the way you want to be treated. So when somebody makes contact with me and they eventually get in to see me, I care about everything in their life. My priority is them. And so let's use the knee thing, right? Somebody will come to me, I have a pain in my knee. And they're expecting, as you said, just fix my knee. And I'm like, okay, I will take the pain away from your knee. Or I will rephrase that. I will encourage your body to get rid of that pain through manual therapy and correctives and strengthening and all that kind of stuff. But I also look at the bigger picture of, right, who is this person? What is their lifestyle? Where are they with stress levels? What did he work at? Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to miss anything. I want to get them right. So no matter what that takes, I'm going to do it. Like I would have clients who would blow their lower back. All right, I do this all day, and I'm like, okay, that has a massive effect. But like this muscle that we're working on, I won't get too in depth because people mightn't grasp it. All right, this is the emotional muscle, and you might have gone through some trauma and blah, 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 and this is affecting you. And you get to see people go, how did you know that? I'm like, well, your body is telling me this. It's like how blind people read Braille. I read the body the same way. I mean,
you got to feel for it.
Yeah, I feel. I'm a bit of an old hippie, so I feel the energy. But I look at people when they're coming up to meet me in the clinic. I look how they get out of the car. I look how they walk up the corridor to me. I look at how they take their jacket off, how they sit down, how they're standing. I look at all of that, and I look at how they're rising, feel that energy too. And then I'll go, oh, did you know you have blah 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 blah? And they'll go, how did you know that? I'm looking at you. That's a little thing that I know how to do. I don't know how I know how to do it, but I know how to do it. Like, I'll give you a couple of quick stories. I had two female clients on separate occasions. One came to me and she was just like, oh, my back and my shoulders and la 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 la. And she walked up to the hall and I just looked at her and I went, oh, come on in. You need to look at this. I went, you need to go and get a pregnancy test. And she was like, what? You need to go. No, I couldn't be. And I'm like, I'm not going to charge you because I'm not about money. Just please go get a pregnancy test. And she was pregnant. She didn't even know. And then another one, I kind of had the same conversation. She went, how did you know that? No, even my fella doesn't even know that. I'm like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. There's another guy, well, there was a few guys, and I was working on them. And it's a weird sensation I get. Again, without sounding too higgledy-piggledy. Yeah. I was working on this guy, and I'm like, there's something not right here. And you will probably get this yourself when you're working on people. Something's not right here. Well, what I'm doing should really help them out. We'll see you next week. Come back and I'm like, And they're like, oh, I felt really good for a little bit and I'm kind of worse where I am. And I just trust my gut. All right. And I would present this in a certain way, not to freak them out. Maybe we should get an MRI. Just have a little look. Nothing I'm worried about. No, I don't want all my future clients going, oh my God, when he does that, I'm going to drop dead. No, it's not that. It's just that feeling I get, you know. One guy in particular, I sent him off and get an MRI. And his wife rang me probably about 3 weeks later, crying. I was like, yeah, all right. Yeah. They found a tumour on his spine. I'm like, ooh, the size of a golf ball. I'm like, oh, holy shit. And she goes, if it wasn't for you, he wouldn't have got that MRI and God knows only where we'd be. And I went, it's not because of me. It's the process that we had to follow. I felt there was something wrong. other than something mechanically wrong in his body. There was something there, you know. He's like, feel a horrible black energy. But anyway, I got another phone call off her. I would say probably 3 or 4 months later. He was refusing to get the operation, right? So this is my kind of whole outlook at therapy, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the manual, so I'm going to manually do all this. It's the full thing.
Yeah.
I care. So she's crying. I'm like, what's wrong? He won't get the operation. I'm like, oh, am I allowed to use bad language?
Fuck no.
Yeah, good. Oh, as I said to her on the phone, I'm quite blunt, you know. I'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake, put that fucking idiot on the phone to me. So, of course, he gets on the phone. He's like, oh, Doughty, what's the story? I said, what the fuck is going on? He's like, yeah, well, you know, if I get that operation, I'm going to end up on a stick and I'm going to have a drop foot. Now, he's a young guy, mid-30s, right? He was a plumber, lovely man, 2 young kids, la, 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 la. And I went, okay, I want you to think about a couple of things. I'm going to say something to you now. You think about it and then you fucking get back to me. And I said, right, don't get the operation, drop foot, cane. I can help you with that, right? If you get the operation, drop foot cane, I can help you with that. We can eradicate lots of that, right? If you don't get the operation, your children have no father. Your wife has no husband because you will be fucking dead. And there was silence. I mean, just... And then the phone was handed back to the wife. And off he went to do whatever. And she was just like, what did you say to him? And I said, well, this is what he said to him. She goes, oh my God, thank you for that. Yeah. So again, another couple of months later, I got a phone call and it was all happiness. He got the operation.
Yeah.
Very successful. And he was going through his treatment and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, if he needs me for the drop foot or the cane, send him on to me. So every now and then I'll get a little message and I'll get a little bit, like there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the extremes of therapy for me.
Yeah.
Like the normal day-to-day stuff is I'm going to manipulate you, massage you, hit trigger points. I'm going to mobilize you. I'm going to look at giving you a strength program to make you better. That's kind of the normal everyday stuff, but I deal with all of that other kind of stuff as well. Like, you know, there's another female client of mine, she came to me. This must be 6-7 years ago. Stress over mind. I knew your problem is stress, right? Headaches, blah, blah, blah. Put my hands on them. Okay. Whatever's going on in your life is not my business. I'm just telling you need to sort out your stress. It's going to be very dangerous. La, 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 la. And people open up when they're on the plinth. Again, I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to own anybody's name or whatever. And she said, well, things at home are terrible. They've been terrible for the last 5-6 months. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, how kind of terrible? I mean, the husband ain't getting on and, you know, they're talking about this could be the end of the family and blah, 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 blah. I haven't been intimate. I feel I've lost that. And I went, this is my prescription for you. Just go home, grab your husband, don't even talk to him, and the two of you fuck the shit out of each other. And it seems like a weird thing to say to a patient, but I knew I had that connection because I felt that energy.
What
and she was very
college
open.
to teach that in?
The Doughty O'Quinn College.
College Life.
But I just followed my instinct.
Yeah.
To kind of come to that, you know. Next week she came skipping through the door. I'm like, how are you feeling? She's like, I feel great. I said, what happened? Well, we're still kind of at ends, but now there's a physicality back.
Yeah.
Like a lot of their stuff they probably will never fix, but for that initial, they enjoyed each other's company. Like before they got married, before they had kids, before they were paying bills or worried about this or fighting with each other over stupid fucking things, you know. Sometimes that's a prescription.
Yeah.
Other times it's, let's drink more water. Let's keep you more mobile, or let's do blah, 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 blah. You know, Again, it's about what's best for that person.
Yeah, I find like I really, really resonate when you speak like that.
Yeah.
And like I've had not the same, but similar discussions with a lot of people. Brian O'Loughlin was on the podcast recently with Movement 101.
Very good. Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, he's excellent, and he was talking a lot more about emotional attachment to pain and stuff like that. I had Colin McDonald was on with me before talking about somatics.
Yeah.
And actually very similar presentation to yourself. Very similar look to yourself and myself. But he was talking about the importance of understanding the holistic approach and lifestyle and emotions and experiences and all that contributes to this thing that we call pain. And we demonise it. And I think the one thing Because sometimes people listen to this, right? They listen to you telling your story. And obviously I know you now and we connect very well.
Yeah, 100%.
But someone who doesn't know you is listening and going,
Yeah.
the magical Dahi sprinkling Fredos telling me
Yeah,
they're pregnant.
yeah.
But the word I keep pulling out of all this is instinct.
Yeah, instinct. Yeah.
Instinct.
Yeah.
You have an instinct for this kind of
Instinct.
stuff.
Yeah.
When you meet somebody, you have an instinct. Are they a good or bad person?
Yeah.
Are they nice? Am I going to get on with this person?
Yeah.
You've combined your instinct with your experience growing up. You've a lot of human experiences growing up. A lot of trauma, a lot of positive experiences. And you've combined that with professional training.
Yeah.
So you take those three things, instincts, experience, and professional training, and all of a sudden you look like some sort of mystic magical healer.
Yeah.
But you're just using other elements of human experience in life to help another person.
Yeah.
And I think, for me anyway, I learned some very, very good technical skills in college. But the instinct part wasn't even talked about or discussed. The human connection part isn't talked about or discussed. And I find that in a lot of modern kind of methodologies, medicine, whatever, business, anything, we're losing a lot of that instinct.
Of course.
And we're losing a lot of putting your own human emotions into this because it's not clinical. It's not a number. It's not diagnosable. So it's not A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
And like when you put your hands on somebody, when you watch someone getting out of a car, like I've never been able to tell somebody's pregnant now from some of this. It
was just one of them. There's a couple of things. It was just one of them weird things.
But you got to feel when you see people move and you're like, that person can take care of themselves, or that person moves very well, or that person's in pain, or that person's stressed out, the shoulders are hunched.
Of course.
Collie calls it the red light. And you can tell a lot from that. You don't have to be an expert in biomechanics and say, his hip is 3 degrees misaligned on the left.
You don't need that in-depth knowledge. You just got to know, there's an issue. I recognise that issue.
Yeah.
How do we get the best result for that person to resolve that issue?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the answer is to that question, as long as we get to the answer. Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of where I am. I mean, look, I would get people quite a lot, right? So if I have a couple of people in the clinic, so I might have one client and they bring their husband or their wife or blah 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 blah, blah whatever it is, and I would look at the client. I go, okay, right, we'll have a look, and then I'll pull the significant other or their friend or whoever's brought them, and I go, now, what do you see? I don't know. Okay, start from the feet up. So look how the foot is. See the way that ankle is turned. Now look at the position of that knee. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen that before. I'm like, so what effect does that have? And we look at the kinetic chain and so on and so forth. Then we look at position of the head. That's why they're getting headaches. I never knew that. It's coming from the foot. Yeah. I just know to look at them things.
Yeah.
And when you point it out to people, they go, oh.
Yeah.
But sometimes they become super aware of it and they're trying to fix themselves. I see this shit. 99% of other people won't see it. They won't notice that.
Yeah.
Like I had a female client recently. She didn't know she had one bowed leg.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't know. I just went, okay. I took a picture and I showed her and she went, oh my God.
So you gave her a body complex for life.
Yeah. She hates me now. No, but she was so aware of it and so open to kind of go, well, how do I fix this? Well, some things you can't fix. But we can.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. We can just make things better. Like I look at the human body, just fascinates me. You know, I just love every aspect about it, and I'm just passionate about learning more. I mean, every day's a school day for me, and I look at people who have massive drug problems, right? Who get involved in heroin and crack and blah blah blah. These people are able to function.
Yeah,
they're able to function, and they're able to have this whatever thought process they have. They get pregnant, they're having kids, and they're doing. I'm just like, okay, it's a horrible, dirty disease to be involved in that thing. But I'm just like, how are they surviving? The poison they put in their body, how are they able to do that? And then I look at the Olympics, extreme athletes, or the Conor McGregors, or these guys, and I'm like, you can push your body that far and just keep climbing and just be a superb athlete, superb human being, right? And you can have these other people who they shouldn't be walking the planet, and they're able to function and blah, blah, blah. Whether they're at the losing a limb, or they're at the surviving cancer, whether they're at the being in a war and being shot, if they got PSD, whatever, you're able to function. But then I also look at how fragile the body is. I know a guy from a long time ago, and a lovely man, he got into an altercation. This guy started on him. He clocked this guy in the jaw. Guy hit the ground, dead. There's situations like that. There's people fall and walking up the stairs, they fall 2 steps, boom, they're dead. So how fragile but how strong Your body is. It's a contradiction in itself, but I love all of that aspect of it. You know, I'm like, how is that happening? What is that? How do we look at that? And can I grab all that knowledge and if somebody walks in the door, can I use all of that to make them a better person? That's kind of where I'm at, you know.
That is literally the reason why we're sitting here right now, because that's what I'm trying to do.
And
again, I'm going to, another shout out to Brian. He was talking about the difference between the people that you've just spoken about, super high functioning, can do amazing things. And me, for example, your average Joe, it's mindset in a lot of these. The power of the mind is something, again, people go, here's these fucking hippie shit. But that's what separates the people who really achieve amazing things from people who are crippled by self-doubt and anxiety and all that kind of stuff. It's a mindset shift. And you've said it, I said it all the time, the most rewarding, that moment with clients or patients or friends or someone that you're talking to, and they have this, I get it. They shift their mindset, and all of a sudden, hold on, that back pain is not because I have a bulging disc at L5 and the doctor says I need to get it removed. Blah, blah, blah. It's just pain. And all of these things I've been doing are contributing that pain, but I control all those things. So if I can change all of those things, I don't have to control the pain. If I control all those things, magically, I've had so many cases, and it's not, I did nothing except talk.
Of course,
These people come back, my back pain's gone away. I was like, we haven't done any treatment. But now I just think about things in a slightly different way, and now I live my life a slightly different way. My back pain's gone away. I've had back pain for 20 years.
Of course,
It's that empowerment, the mindset shift. And it's scalable from the person who has problems with drugs right up to the Conor McGregors and the super ultra Olympic athletes. The power of a shift of your own mindset. You can control. Did you ever see the movie with Bradley Cooper? What was it? The one where he takes the pill in his brain? What was it?
I can't remember the name of it.
Limitless or something. Yeah. That always fascinated me, because it's like the amount of potential our mind has to change our bodies and our outlooks. It's huge. And most of us waste that. And the people who succeed are the people who, apart from the genetic freaks, are the people who have figured out how to manage that potential and suck a little bit more of their own potential out of it. And when you're dealing with somebody, or when I was dealing with people as well, I found that the most success anybody ever had was when they had that, you're going to help me, but I'm actually in control here. And then they start to live their life a little bit differently, make different decisions, and a lot of 100%
they
get better.
100%.
I didn't actually do it. I didn't actually do it.
Well, I think, look, my approach to the physical end of things is I'm not fixing anybody. I'm encouraging the body to be healthier. I'm encouraging healthier attitudes, healthier movement patterns, and awareness. So there's one thing I'm very conscious of when somebody comes into the clinic. I will explain what I feel is the issue. I will explain why. And then when I'm doing the manual stuff, I'll explain I'm doing this to do that because that has an effect on this. And you see people, it's that moment, they go, oh, now I get it. And my issue is, I'm not going to bash anybody, as we said. My issue with certain other people that do this kind of work is like, why are you not explaining that to people? Why are you not giving them that? Like, we need to take away that point of pain, whether it's from blunt force trauma, imbalance in the body, or if it's an emotional or stressful, whatever it is, right? Some people just, they don't go in that depth with them. And everybody that comes to me, I always go, blah, 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 blah. If your head understands that, your body will follow in that pattern, and you will actually increase your healing time. I've seen it. You know, I've seen it firsthand, you know, and people are just like, now I get it. Now I get it. So, I think from other therapists, I think that's missing quite a lot. Maybe it's because, I'm not driven by money. I'm the worst fucking businessman.
John, your brother, right?
Ever. I'm a fucking disaster, you know. I was told I should be charging more. I should be seeing these many people during the day, and then blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that is not me. I need money to pay bills. I would love to have loads of money. Who wouldn't? But money is not my end game. Money helps me do things. I'm a very, very rich guy in here. I'm a very poor guy in my wallet, because I'm not driven by, let's get 20 people into the clinic a day and you're just a number, and I'm going to have 3 people in the clinic at the one time, 2 minutes with you, 2 minutes with you, 2 minutes with you. And I know certain practitioners that are doing that. Again, that's their vibe. I'm not bashing them, and some of them are getting great results and whatever. It's just not my thing. My thing is, you've got an issue. Okay, how can we fix this for you? And I'll always say to clients, like, when they walk out the door, I'm like, message me in 2 or 3 days' time. Let me know how you feel. Doesn't matter, good, bad, or indifferent. Let me get that feedback so I can formulate another plan in my head to make sure we're tackling everything for you, you know, because I care. Like, my whole body is broken up through injuries. The latest one, I fractured my neck about less than 3 months ago. I fractured my neck, right? So C3 are fractured.
Wow.
Yeah, doing jiu-jitsu, right? And I didn't even know I was walking around for 2 weeks with a fractured neck. And I went to my guru, Austin Bradshaw, who was, again, he's just a wonderful human being. Then he was just like, oh my God, what the fuck did you do? You've now a fractured neck. But anyway, that's how, I don't want anybody in that pain. I don't want anybody walking around for 2 weeks with broken stuff. I know what it's like to be incapacitated. I don't want anybody to have that, you know?
Yeah. I actually think just by looking at you here, you might be pregnant too.
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely pregnant. I have an infection in my bowel. That's what that is. I actually do.
Do you? Yeah. I didn't pick that one up.
I actually do.
Yeah, and I think just again to reinforce this, I like to do this a lot because it helps me formulate my own thoughts as well. It's not, for me, it's not about a physical therapist or a therapist or a doctor or a guard or a nurse or whatever the fuck it is. It's a personal, individual thing. It's not an industry thing. I know people who are spiritual woods healers and they're amazing, and I know some of them who are lunatics, and I know people who are top level surgeons who are incredible at what they do because they have an understanding of the human condition. And I know some people who are very, very high up in those kind of industries who are just black and white numbers people.
Yeah.
But different people resonate with different therapists. Yeah. I might come to you and it might be a fucking disaster. Yeah. And I might go to the next person who might have done a 2-week course but might be very in touch with me.
Of course, 100%.
And that might be excellent. So I think that's an important point because I talk to so many people and sometimes it does sound maybe injustly so that I'm giving out about therapists don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I find I resonate well with people who connect with me.
You have to have that connection.
You have to have that connection. I think whoever you go to, and like I'm big on take control of your own health. This is the phrase I always use. For me, that means find somebody who's in tune and in line with what you're trying to achieve, and you can work with them. Yeah. You don't go to somebody expecting to be fixed. Don't go to Dahlia Quinn expecting he's going to fix you. He probably will. But only if you engage in that journey.
Well, it will help you get better.
You're a facilitator.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, therapy is therapy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter on what level it is, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever, right? Therapy is therapy. So when people get on the plinth and see me, for whatever reason, they can open up. Yeah. And what they say to me is between me and them and nobody else. And they open up. And we touched on this before, just before we started, and also on Drew's podcast. I'm very open about mental health, right? I'm bipolar. I'm heavily medicated. And I've also got a personality disorder. And I've got all these other weird, wonderful things that go with it, right? So I'm very open about me, my struggles. And I'll just basically break the ice, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, people go, oh, okay, so he's talking about that, so it's all right for me to talk about it, which relieves lots of stress. The body can relax, so I can get more work done. Yeah. They feel comfortable. I have had an elderly gentleman who was in his 70s get off the plinth and he goes, it feels like I know you my whole life. And I used to call him the dapper man because he'd always turn up with his hat and his suit on, and he was a lovely individual. And he was just like, oh my God, I feel like I know you my whole life. And I went, well, it would have been nice to know you, but that means I'll be really old, so I leave that whole business with you. Just having a laugh, like. But you know, I like that connection. So therapy for me is therapy. Doesn't matter at what aspect. And if we can relieve the stress, or somebody can just get some shit off their chest, as well as me being able to do my manual stuff and then putting them on the right path. I mean, we're getting the whole thing. It's not just one thing; it's the whole thing.
Absolutely.
When you come to me, that point of pain, I have to try and eradicate that. I have to. But then I'll look at the bigger picture. What's causing that? You know. Another little story I will tell you, just a quick one. So I would help. I trained my first course with the NSRT, National School of Remedial Therapy. Really, really good course. Really good people. And my friend Austin lectures on that course. So I would help students with come in and do some practical work with me. Come in the clinic. We can work on each other. I'll ask clients, is it okay for you to come in and watch and blah, 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 blah. And one day, this certain group had this epiphany. It was an moment, right? And they thought they could, I'm going to fix this person. And I'm like, you're not going to fix anybody. You're going to facilitate, as you said. You're going to help the body and help them fix themselves, right? Get better to their optimum, right? Get better and they can function. You don't have the magic to do that for them. You can release muscle, you can milk nerves, you can give them all of this wonderful stuff to do, but it's up to them to do the rest of it. So you can just gently persuade them. And they went, oh, I never knew that. I thought I was coming to learn something so I could fix your dodgy hip. Yeah, you're helping repair the dodgy hip, but their body has to heal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the way I look at things. I'm like, I'm going to encourage this person to do whatever so we can get the best results for them. You know what I mean? So, yeah. That's
And
what I mean.
help them create the habits and systems and stuff to do for themselves.
Oh, 100%.
My pillow's getting away from me.
But it's down to them. I have clients, and like one of my best friends, right? And he's just, I love this man, right? Andy Ryan from Team Rhino, who's the head coach. He's probably one of the best coaches I've ever come across in my life. When I had my MMA academies and my martial arts schools, I tied in with Andy and we became really, really close, right? Andy is a disaster for rehab and prehab. Disaster, right? And every time I work at him, I go, Andy, did you do this, 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 and this? No, and he hasn't done it. He just look at me and go, no. And I'm like, okay. That's just the way he is. Because he knows I'm there whenever he needs something. You will come across people like that. Okay. You know, they won't demand. They want you to come up and go, look, you just fucking fix me. I'm too busy with my life. Just fix me. And he's just old school athlete. I mean, Olympic level judo. He's MMA, fought MMA, blah, 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 blah. He's just that guy. I don't have time for that. I'm not going to stretch. I don't think he ever stretched when he was going towards the Olympics for the judo. So don't you just come up and work on me, will you? And I'm like, all right, you know.
Right, like there's a type of person like that as well who have a genuine trust in your ability to get them better too. So they've bought in, they're engaged, they're invested. So that works as well for some people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Nice segue onto the topic fighting.
Yeah.
So I know you have a long and colourful history of fighting.
I do, yeah.
And obviously you're involved with things like MMA and judo and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, professional level athletes. It's a huge part of your universe and your world. And I was having this conversation the other day about fighting. Now, I've never a fighter.
Yeah.
But I play sport all my life and I understand challenge and adversity and trying to achieve a goal, a physical goal. And for me, I've done a little bit of training and sparring over the years, so I have a basic understanding of what this world looks like. If you haven't tried it, you don't understand what it means to go toe to toe with one person, and all you have to rely on is you. It's, for me, it's the most pure representation of this human animalistic spirit. It's like, 'cause I always think if we didn't have sport like football or rugby, we'd have a lot more world wars. It's our way of, and it is predominantly male dominated, but females are involved as well.
It's great to see the women doing it too.
Absolutely fantastic.
I love it.
But it's a great way in a world now that's overly PC and protective and snowball and nanny state and all that. It's a great way to channel all of that human emotion. Because we're physical, we're animals, we fight, we're never not going to fight. Animals fight in the animal kingdom all the time.
100%.
And we are animals. So when I look at fighting, especially because I've tried a little bit, it's a really, 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 really pure, distilled version of here are two people and they have to survive. You are trying to beat the other guy. I won't say hurt the other guy. You're trying to beat the other guy or girl, and they're trying to beat you, and that is the entire thing. You're in that cage. You're in a cage in a lot of cases, or a ring or whatever. 100%. So I really, really respect and appreciate that level of bravery and commitment and discipline. And I think if you're not familiar with fighting, you look at it as it's kind of barbaric and why are you doing that to each other?
People don't understand it.
I don't think they understand it. Now, you have personal experiences with this, and you deal with people who this is their entire lives. What does fighting and combat sports, what does that mean to you? What's that world look like for someone who's in it?
Like, I'll give you a couple of different aspects. Like, for me, I wouldn't be a good fighter. I never was a good fighter. I wouldn't class myself as a fighter. I've had plenty of fights, and I like to stand up for people who are being bullied and blah 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 blah. And I've had plenty of competitions and all of that kind of stuff. And some have done okay in, and some have done really shit in. I didn't mind competing when I was younger. Didn't mind competing at whatever level. Like, I think my first competition was judo. It was European Judo Championships. I was only a kid, and then we did the European Karate Championships, and I did all this kind of stuff. Inter club boxing. I come from a boxing family. Jiu-jitsu competitions, all this kind of stuff. I got to hate that pressure. I'm like, oh fucking hell, I really don't want to do this. And when I'm feeling that, I feel like I'm the only one that's ever felt like that. Not realising that every single competitor who gets in a ring, a cage, or on a mat, or goes out to the back lane to do whatever, they all feel that. The biggest, strongest, bravest guys, they all feel that. It was an epiphany for me when I heard Mike Tyson saying, yeah, every fight I'm afraid of. I was just like, Mike Tyson said that? Holy shit. But then he uses his fear in a positive way to get what he wants to get done. Right. So, another thing I want to touch on is fighting and martial arts. Yeah, they're involved with each other, but fighting is like this much of martial arts.
Yeah.
Martial arts is here. So I know guys who are amazing fighters. They're also amazing martial artists. And I know some guys who are just amazing fighters. They're not martial artists at all, like, you know. So there's a massive difference. For me, the competing side, at the start I didn't mind it, but as I got older, I'm just like, fuck that. And even sparring now. Like, so the last time I went up to Andy's to watch the guys sparring, and the guys are just, wow, they're going at it, and I'm like, years ago I'd be like, yeah, I don't want getting a punch in the head because I'm going to get to you to punch you in the head. It doesn't bother me. Now I'm like, I think as I get older, maybe I'm more aware of my mortality, you know? Yeah, I'm like, fuck that shit. That hurts now. When I was younger, it didn't bother me. I mean, from competing in them competitions to competing on the street, and I was in a lot of physical altercations on the street for whatever reason. Some were organised, some weren't, and I'd still have the same vibe, unless it's an instant thing. Yeah. I don't have time to think. I just react. Right. And then I don't go through all that emotional stress. But I think all of that emotional stress makes the fighter. When I got to a certain age, I went, you know what? I'm done with that. I can't do that anymore. You know, it's giving me too much fucking anxiety. But I did loads of it, and I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoyed that part of it. Like, we look at now the debate that's going on because Conor was beaten, right? And people are just berating him, right? There's a man, and I'm not going to get into his personal life, right, too much, and this, that, and the other. There's a man that was all of a sudden the most famous man in the world, with 100 million thrown at him, right? And the best potential for any combat sports athlete. And I just thought he was phenomenal. My personal, humble opinion is his mindset, I think, is his best attribute. He is what I call a 100%er. If he's doing something, it's 100%, and that's what makes him so good, right? And he is gifted in movement and all this kind of stuff, and he explores all of that. On another aspect, let me just put it this way, right? I've been to many fights. I've been in corners of fights. I've been in fights. I've watched fights. I've supported my friends in fights. I've sponsored athletes who are fighters, and I'm at these fights, and the other guy will come out, and people will boo him or her. I'm like, shut the fuck, how dare you boo that person? As you said, is walking, just them, they're going to compete, and it's one of the purest forms of expression. Yeah, you put yourself on the line in front of all of these people for that moment of combat where they win, lose or draw, right? And people boo you for it. I'm like, how fucking dare you? I've stood beside people, right, who are booing a guy, and I'd say, shut the fuck up, and I'd cheer for that guy, even though I'm not interested in that person, whether it's politically or whatever it is. I'm just like, oh, but they deserve kudos for stepping up there and putting it all on the line, win, lose or draw. John Kavanagh said this a few years ago. You either win or you learn.
Win or learn. It's his book as well.
And and it's a beautiful statement, and how true it is. So now, 90% of the people who've never fought in their lives are berating Conor for getting knocked the fuck out. Yeah, and he was beaten. He was beaten because of A, B, C, and D. I follow Dustin. I follow his strength and conditioning guy. We've had conversations over the internet and blah blah, and he's really good. And I just looked at Dustin and I went, he's a completely different animal. Yeah, like there's no facet that he hasn't left behind to make sure he's the best he possibly can be, and he just keeps getting better with every fight. He learns from everything. He was stronger. He was dominant. He pushed forward, and he looked at Conor's stance, and he just smashed the calf out of him. Now, when I was coaching, it's something I would coach. Smash that calf. Smash that calf, take the pep out of his step. He's got no power in his shots. He's weak. All he's thinking about was that pain. Now he can start dominating. And that's what happened. It just took Conor's game plan away from him. So slightly, I don't think John looked at the whole aspect of things. I'm not his coach, and I love John's a great coach and blah blah blah. He's a lovely man, lovely human being. But I actually learned something from that calf kick, them people getting destroyed. Basically, most guys take kicks to the legs, right? The upper thigh, and you see Thai boxing all the time, and you can get semi-conditioned to them. You're still going to get damaged. You're still going to get hurt. You're still going to be limping around, right? But because your quad is so big, there's enough room for fluid and all of this to move around in. The calf does not have that much room. Right? Yeah. So, like, I'm looking at people's calves getting destroyed, and it was just one of them techniques that people overlooked. And I'm like, coaches at such a high level should be looking at all aspects of that. So it was disappointing for him. But it's the people putting Conor down. You've never fought. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like how fucking dare you? Whether you like the man or not.
Yeah, whether you like him or not. This is kind of, you made a few very good points there. This is kind of why I brought up the whole fight thing. And some people might be, I'm not really interested in fighting. But for me, it's about more than the sport of fighting, because there's two elements of this, especially the UFC now. Conor McGregor specifically. I know we spoke about him a few times, but there's the entertainment side of it. This is a business. So all the stuff that goes with that, the money and Conor's lifestyle and all that, fine. People have their opinions on that. Yeah. But the fight game and sport in general, but as you said, the most pure version of sport is fighting. It's one-on-one.
Yeah.
I listened. I've heard a few people say something similar, and randomly, and this maybe not a good reference point, but I've been watching. Have you ever seen Kingdom on Netflix?
Yes, I have. It's a good show.
Frank Grillo was the main actor now. And I was watching Frank Grillo, and I'm not fighting, but I've an eye for people who move well.
He's a martial artist, like, he knows his shit.
So I looked at him, I was like, I said to Jill, I was like, he's a fucking, definitely, he's not an actor, he's a fighter.
He's a fighter.
I looked him
up.
He's
a beast.
He trained at Rickson Gracie.
Yeah.
And he's quoted as saying that you learn to fight, you're good at it, you're bad at it, whatever. But most fighters will tell you, and I've spoken to loads of fighters who say the exact same thing. Most people who actually fight, who get in a ring and fight, they'll tell you the same thing. Fighting is only a percentage of it. You learn discipline, you learn to be humble, you learn respect, you learn systems, you learn how to overcome adversity. And most of them will say the same thing. If something breaks out in the street, I want to go the other direction.
100%.
Like, you have the difference between these athletes and someone who fights because they're aggressive or they have whatever. And that happens sometimes. You get caught up.
Of course.
But it's not the same thing.
No.
And everybody I've ever heard who achieved any sort of success in the fight game, they all speak like this. They're quite now. I know I'm saying these words like humble and stuff like that, and you think of Conor McGregor. He was playing a game as well. He was playing the system.
Of course he was.
It's an entertainment show.
But he was like that at the start. He was that brash at the start.
He was that
brash. I remember him being young.
Yeah.
Charging into weigh-ins, right?
Yeah.
Get me belt. And he's only a young. Like, I remember that. So that is in him.
It is in him, yeah.
Sorry if I couldn't cross.
No, you're grand. But he has all these other attributes as well. He has the discipline. He trains hard. He's like him or dislike him. You cannot disagree with the fact that he's done something incredible.
Amazing.
As has every single person who puts themselves in a position where they're in competition with somebody else. Whether you play football, whether you fight or anything like that. It's just a really, really good way of analysing it when you have two people going one-on-one.
Yeah.
And to, as you said, to make comments about people who get into, like, everyone's a fucking expert. I wouldn't have tapped.
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever been in a fucking sleeper before?
Have you ever had somebody squash the forearm against your jaw and it's going to pop? You're going to cry for your man, whether you like your man or not.
I put my hand up. I did it the first time. I was crying, I was tapping us, get me out of this. Have you ever taken a punch to the head? Have you ever taken a kick to the shin? So when you experience those feelings, you get a whole new appreciation for someone who does something like that. But the ethos of people who do these extreme versions of anything, whether it's Conor McGregor fighting or Alex Honnold climbing El Cap with no ropes, or
unbelievable,
or running a sub-3 marathon or whatever it is. You have to develop systems, you have to develop beliefs, you have to have a code, you have to have some sort of roadmap for how you're going to get there. And everyone who we watch on TV has built those roadmaps. And this is why I'm really, really, really interested in it. But also as an expression of the purest form of a human being. You're getting in there and you're just putting everything you have on the line and you're hoping to win. If you don't win, you lose.
Well, I think that's an old ingrained primal thing and you said it earlier on, we're going to fight. Everybody's going to fight. We're all going to fight till the end of time, from the beginning of time till the end of time. It's a primal thing. It's it comes from the hunter gatherer that's in us. You're going to fight. And you're going to have guys and girls who are naturally good fighters. And then you're going to have people who are not good fighters. And it's just not in them to fight.
Yeah.
I'm not a good fighter, although I've had lots and lots of fights, you know. But it's a primal thing.
Yeah.
It's cavemanish,
Yeah,
you know, and it's ingrained and it's deep in our soul. And it comes through tribalism. We see modern tribalism as in this fight camp against that fight camp, this football club against that football club.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 and goes on and goes on and goes on. It's that part of humanity that's in us that's never going to leave us. No matter how PC we want to be about things, we're humans. Humans have these traits. Humans will follow these traits, right? So if we don't have them things to do, fuck me, the world's going to end. Like, you know, there'll be people pressing big red buttons and boom, and it'll be, you know.
Well, here's a theory for you, right? Let's see how you feel about this one. I know you agree because we spoke about it, but let's see how you feel about this one. These sport, not just fighting, sport, physical challenge is an outlet for us for a lot of these ingrained, instinctual emotions and feelings.
Sure.
So we have aggression in. Now, some people are not aggressive people, but they're still, that emotion is still there in varying percentages. We have jealousy, we have attraction, we have passion, we have fear, we have all this stuff in us. The world that we live in today is not necessarily, we're not allowed to express a lot of those different things. Rightfully so to a degree, because we're social animals. If we want to live together, you can't go around because you're an aggressive person knocking the bollocks out of everyone you see because you feel aggressive. Yeah. You can't go around and steal someone's woman because you just want that woman. You can't go around and do whatever you want.
Yeah, because it's wrong.
Because it's wrong.
There's repercussions for your actions.
Yeah, so we find a level where we're all going to live together. But I find that nowadays, not enough of us have a healthy outlet, because those feelings don't go away. Those instincts don't go away.
No.
So, like, for me, sport's been a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
Because it's an outlet for me for all these emotions that I feel all the time.
Yeah.
But that's kind of now being called toxic masculinity. Because I'm a man and I have certain feelings, aggression or jealousy or pride or ego, which is normal.
Yeah.
I found a healthy outlet for them because I play sport. Sure. And like my fiance Jill will say, like, she'll say it's gas if I go out on the pitch, like the chest goes out and the fucking swells up and all that. But for me, it's an outlet.
Well, you have to do that. It's a part of the game of the sport that you're in, but it's in you.
It's in me. And I look at the guy beside me and he's the same. And I said, right, it's me. I know it's 50 and I'm fit, but it's me and you now, pal. And I'm not going to do anything dirty to you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try and beat you. You're going to try and beat me. And you get that all out there, and then at the end you shake hands, and that shake hands is it's
the most beautiful thing. It's a respectful thing.
It's
just like we'll walk off and we could have a beer, get a coffee or whatever. Yeah.
And that's a good balance for me. Yeah. If I said, oh, fuck you, you're from down there, and we finish, and fuck you, man, I'm gonna burn your house down.
I don't like that.
That's too far.
Yeah.
So there is a healthy balance.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But now, you don't play sport, right? You're an office worker. You hate your boss. You're competing with all these fuckers for a promotion. It's you against 30 other lads or 30 other women for a promotion. How does that come out?
Yeah.
Frustration, anger, nasty comments, posting on social media, bullying, anxiety, all of these feelings that you don't have an outlet for anywhere else because you're told it's toxic. Suppress it, push it back down inside. You're not allowed to feel like that anymore. You feel angry, do you?
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're an aggressive male. That's toxic.
How dare you?
How dare you feel angry?
How dare you?
Yeah. Now, again, there's a line. You can't go around being angry at everybody.
100%.
But I really, really believe in developing a way for you to harness that energy. That sounds a bit airy-fairy maybe, but harness that energy and put it into something productive.
Absolutely.
So then you look at these people who are achieving amazing things. Now, not everyone's coming from, like McGregor, very, very intense, aggressive. He's out there, he's charismatic. It's all his energy's on his sleeve. You don't have to be like that. Look at Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
He humble. Like
beautiful.
It's very calm, but he knocked out McGregor. Like his energy came out in a different way. I just, the reason I'm going down this road is I think it's you've explained it very well there. I think it's very powerful, and fighting is a good representation of this. But to have an outlet for people and not to be afraid or ashamed or embarrassed about all these things you might feel because it's toxic. But unfortunately, bring in the PC wave and bring in social media. Very hard. It's why I love. Here we go with the eye rolling, but I love Joe Rogan's format. Because he's unapologetic about the fact that he is a man. And he's a meathead. And he says it all the time, I'm a gorilla and I lift weights and that. But he's also very respectful and very polite. He has opinions that aren't popular to some people, but he's proud of those opinions. And he backs them up and he reinforces them. He has debates with people who come on about different things, but he's never
Never.
Very rarely, and he doesn't
Yeah.
mean to be.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is disrespectful, but people find it very easy to paint him out as the leader of this
Yeah.
ultra kind of oppressive male wave of
Sure.
toxic masculinity. So I went off on an absolute
No,
rant
no,
there,
no,
but
that's all right. No, but I get it, and I agree with you. You know,
Yeah.
like let's look at Joe Rogan, right? Lots of stuff with Joe Rogan I won't agree with.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will agree with. Right?
Absolutely.
We're all the exact same but completely different, right? I think it's about celebrating them differences, whether it's gender, or whether it's personality, or whether it's fighting or art or music or whatever it is. It's I've got friends on all aspects of life, okay? Whether it's political awareness, whether it's fighting, whether it's music, whether it's football. No, I'm not a soccer person, but I've lots of friends into soccer. And I'm like, I can be friends with all of these people, right? I can meet you like I did, and we could have a difference of opinion, and I will respect that opinion.
Yeah.
And it's down to me to kind of go, oh, well, he doesn't think the same way as I do. Why is that? Am I wrong or are they wrong? And if we don't come to some kind of agreement, go, well, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's
Or
okay.
are neither of us wrong?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, your opinion is your opinion, and how you feel is how you feel. Nobody can take that away from you. I've been wrong on so many occasions, and when it's pointed out to me, I'll go, oh, didn't know that. Give me more information. Let me more about that. But there's other times I've had conversations and debates, and they get heated with people, and they're like, no. I'm like, here's the scientific facts about that. No. You know, and then you're called all kinds of arseholes and fucking idiots and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think you gotta be open and aware to deal with everybody else's opinion, whether you agree with it or whether you don't agree with it. And there's nothing like a good, healthy debate and a conversation. And at the end go, geez, that was good. Yeah, well, we still think differently. Yeah, but that's okay. You know what I mean?
But we've explored it
Yeah.
in a much I think we're a world based on headlines nowadays. Headlines and 2-second Instagram posts. This is a cliche thing to say, but it's why we do this.
Yeah.
We have it's why we laugh. We have 2-hour conversations before we turn the microphones
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And I go away, and I don't know about you, but I'm tired and I'm nourished.
Yeah,
buzzing.
yeah,
My head is
100%.
going, that was good from my head.
100%.
Talk about this with Dahi.
Yeah, 100%.
I didn't agree with that, but I did agree with this.
Yeah.
But either way, we explored these ideas. We talked about our feelings and our emotions. We got it all out there. We had a good conversation. Feel much better after.
good.
Tired,
Yeah.
but much better.
Yeah, of course.
And I think it's why podcasts are becoming much more popular.
Yeah, I do too. It's an open expression of, you know, people just having a conversation where you can kind of go, all right, well, that's a load of shit. Well, that's all right. It's okay to go, that's a load of shit. Or, Jesus, I get that individual. I kind of think the same way. I mean, I have a massive issue with people who just shut other people down without listening to them. No, you're wrong. Shut up.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let that person, whether it's me or somebody else, let that person express how they feel, because as we talked about that energy, whatever's going on in somebody's life, if they're competing and not competing, well, everybody's competing in life. Everybody is, right? No matter what it is, we're all competing. Let them get that expression out. Let them tell you how they feel. Take that on board. Try and digest it and see it from their point and go, all right, okay, I get where you're coming from. I don't agree with it. I get it. That whole toxic masculinity thing really kind of, it gets to me a little
Makes
bit.
me very angry.
I mean, look, males and females are completely different.
Oh my God.
Right?
Right, the podcast is over.
Oh,
I'm
no,
so sorry.
that's
I'm
me.
so
I'm going to
sorry.
get attacked, right? We're completely different, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We all deserve fairness and equality in everything we do.
Absolutely.
But I think we should celebrate the differences between males and females. We should celebrate that and go, okay, this is a perfect marriage to what makes us function. Now, I'm not everybody. I have lots of gay friends, male and female, and that's their thing, right? But they also understand in their relationship, their role in that relationship is this, or it's that, or it's whatever. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm just like, okay, there's acceptance. There's none of this, well, you're wrong, you can't fucking do that shit, you know. But I like that openness.
Yeah.
I hate people shutting people down. No, see you, toxic masculinity. I'm like, so I'm not allowed to express myself through my training or through my thought process or how I get on with my life because you don't agree with me. And you're the minority. I mean, I'm open to listening to you, but please tell me why you think this way so maybe I can learn from you. I mean, it's okay to be a man. It's okay to be a woman. And it's okay to be anything in between that. It's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're a good, happy, wholesome individual. I don't care what colour you are. I don't care what religion you are. And I talked about this earlier on, right? I am cuntish. Okay? So...
Cuntish or cuntist?
Both maybe. So I've got one commandment. Don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
And if you're a cunt, I don't want that to do with you. It's a horrible word, but it's a lovely word, all at the same time, right?
I'm foul-mouthed sometimes,
Yeah.
but I find some of those words are a really good expression
And
of what
it's an expression.
of what you're trying
It
to
is.
say,
It's a horrible, horrible word. But as Irish people in our culture, we use bad language as an everyday thing because it expresses how we feel. Heightened sentences or paragraphs or any of that kind of stuff. But don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
I don't care who or what you are. Don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
Just be a good human being, and have a little debate and respect and integrity in doing what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
What's up, folks? Are we all enjoying the show? In this episode, I'm chatting to Daithí Ó Cuín about life, healing, health, purpose, battles, and beyond. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can catch me on Instagram at PrimalPro, PRYMALPRO, or send me an email at podcast@primal.ie. And for all of Daithí's information, you can find his contact details and more over at www.primal.ie/Daithí Ó Cuín. Do you know what I find really interesting now? Because, again, sometimes these kind of conversations seem really negative and defeatist and the world is going crazy and all that kind of stuff. But you actually mentioned it there. It is the minority of people who are trapped in this kind of me or you, right or wrong thing.
Yeah.
Most people actually are lovely, genuine, accepting, loving people. But a huge percentage of that middle ground of lovely people get caught in this social wave. They don't want to be on the wrong side. They don't agree with either side.
Yeah.
They don't want to be on a side. But you know what? I don't want to be called a racist. And I don't want to be called an anti-feminist. And I don't. So they kind of just, okay, I'll agree with this side. Because they just want to stay out of it. But they can't, because now we're being told you're with me or you're against me. And this minority wave of people who are just, in my opinion, confused, lost, angry. I get it.
Or uneducated, maybe.
Or uneducated, yeah. I get it. I understand where it's coming from. We had this discussion about people fighting aggressively for causes they believe in. They believe in them. They're upset. They're angry. Absolutely. I understand that. However, it's created a very weird social dynamic now where you're afraid to be against this movement because you'll be
labelled something.
You'll be labelled something that you're not.
That's derogatory. And most of the time, the people that are throwing these labels out don't actually understand the label.
They don't understand.
They don't understand what that is that you're calling somebody else. Again, I want to get back to that. I don't give a fuck who or what you are, as long as you try to be a good person, right? And it's okay. And I wanted to say this earlier on, but we've come on to this point. It's okay to be offended by somebody. It's okay. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm offended. Yeah. It's okay to be offended. It's a part of human nature. Be offended. What, is your leg going to fall off because you're offended? Are you going to lose your job because you're offended? Are you going to drop dead? No. You're offended because you don't agree with that person's point of view, and that's healthy.
Yeah.
If we all think the same, we're going to be in a world that's run by, you know, extreme national socialists, which is basically Nazis, right? Or extreme communists, which is basically socialists and socialists, right? And let's not try to get into the conversation of what socialism is. I would class myself as a socialist. I like fairness and equality for everybody. But my main point is, it's okay to be offended. Just be offended, you know?
Yeah.
Let somebody get that expression out, and don't take it with too much fucking, you know, horribleness. Just go, all right, you're a bit of a dick in that, but I'm offended, but so what? Or you're offended, well, get fucking over it.
Yeah. The way I kind of look at it is, if you said something to me that's a personal attack directly on me, I'll take that as a personal attack and I'll defend myself.
100%.
If you say something that I'm offended by, but you weren't just saying it to have a go at me, it's just your opinion.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And I wasn't good at that for a long time.
Yeah.
I used to be fucking personally upset by everything someone said that didn't align with me.
Yeah, me too.
But I've started to learn by meeting people like you and having conversations like this. It started to reinforce that idea in my head that what Dahi thinks and says, he should be allowed to think and say.
Yeah.
If it upsets me, upsets me. Now, if Dahi's planning to come and burn my house down, or he's planning to try and change the way I live my life, I'll take offence to that.
100%.
And I'll act on it.
Oh, 100%.
But if Dahi just has a different opinion to me and he wants to live his life that way, high five, because I'd hate if everyone was like me. If everyone was like me, Jesus,
I know,
I'd hate to live in that world.
Yeah.
What a bunch of arseholes.
Yeah.
So I like people to be different. I enjoy listening to people with different opinions. I enjoy visiting different cultures and seeing how they live.
Yeah.
It can be completely different the way I live, but I enjoy that because I learn so many more things about myself by looking at how other people live. I think it's great. So there's a difference, I think, that we're missing now between someone saying something that's a direct attack on you and someone just saying something you don't agree with.
Exactly.
There's a big difference there.
Well, I think the world is turning Magnolia, you know, which is basically, it's,
I hate Magnolia.
you know, there's no ups or downs. I like to look at the beauty and the horror of things because there's beauty in horror.
Yeah.
It might sound a bit strange, but there is, because
We don't have happy without sad.
I mean, look, I'm bipolar, right? So I go from one to the other. I know when I'm high and really like this, I'm going to hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
So and when I'm rock bottom, if I have the courage and the foresight to see it, I can say, right, I can get out of this hole, right, without trying to kill myself at that time, which has happened numerous times, right? Again, it's, you have to have them polars. You have to have good and bad. You have to have night and day. You have to have that as balance. Let's not be fucking Magnolia. You know, I've got friends who think this way. And I go, fucking hell, that is horrific. And I have friends that think this way, and I'm going, oh my God, that's fucking horrific. But that's how they think.
Yeah.
And they're free to think about that. And they're free to have them opinions. And I will respect their opinions. I mightn't agree with it. I'll respect it. And I'll go, okay, so let's just agree to disagree and let's all still be friends.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like I've had debates with strangers and you're just like, I've learned something from you disagreeing with me. I think I was wrong in that. Or I think you're wrong in that, and that reinforces why I think that.
Yeah.
Healthy debates and go, Jesus, nice one. Thanks for that coffee or whatever. Like, my whole thing is, don't be fucking Magnolia.
Don't be Magnolia.
Don't be Magnolia.
Don't live in the grey. I talk about this
man.
from a health perspective as well.
Yeah.
Like, everyone thinks that I'm grand. But don't be grand.
You're not grand.
You're not. You have
It's a
bad
lie.
days and have
It's a
good
lie.
days. And
It's a lie.
accept your bad
Yeah,
days
yeah.
and embrace your good
Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah.
And then you're not grey and you're not grand.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
I'm grand. I'm
You're
a bit
far from
tired.
grand.
I've
Yeah.
no time. I'm okay.
Yeah.
No.
Okay is not okay.
Have shit days.
Yeah.
Because we all do.
Yeah,
No, we know you do. Live in the now.
Yeah.
I'm saying all this stuff like I'm just saying all the Hallmark cards. But it does mean so much when you think about it.
It does.
Yeah.
I think it's giving yourself that moment in time just to think about it, because most people don't with today's lifestyle.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's, and look, I get it. It's busy. You have to do all these different things nowadays. Your day is packed with things you have to do.
Sure.
How much time have you got to sit with yourself? How do I feel? I
Yeah.
feel a bit shit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. What am I
Yeah.
going to do to feel better? How do I feel today? I feel fucking deadly. This
Yeah,
cup
yeah.
of tea is fucking
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
We don't have a lot of time to appreciate that. But my genuine belief is everybody can forge 5 minutes in a day.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not being selfish. Some
Yeah.
people can afford 5 hours. Most people can afford 5 hours, to be
Yeah,
honest with
yeah,
you. I'm always very sensitive around this topic. If you have, and the one example I always use, if you have a sick dependent,
Sure.
if you have someone who depends on you 24 hours a day,
Yeah.
very, very hard to
Yeah.
get 5 minutes to yourself.
Yeah.
I understand, very hard, but it's a bell curve. The majority of people are in the middle.
Yeah.
We can. It's okay to feel bad and give yourself time to feel
Of
good.
course it is.
And the difference you just mentioned there, people with extreme opinions, and we don't need to go into it. You've explained
Yeah,
to me already
yeah,
what that
yeah,
means.
yeah.
But not to offend anybody, so I won't mention any names, but imagine a dictator
Yeah.
or a political figure
Yeah.
who decides, I don't like this group of people.
Yeah.
Oh, fine. But as soon as he takes an action, as soon as we all shouldn't like this group of people.
Yeah,
We should get rid of this group of people.
Yeah.
That's the line there. It's okay
Yeah.
for him to think a certain way
Of course.
based on his experiences.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that
Yeah.
whatsoever. But that's how he thinks.
Yeah.
But when he takes an action,
Yeah.
that's where you kind of have to draw the line. And
Oh,
that's
yeah,
how
yeah.
society works, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Everyone should be allowed to think what they want, whether it's good or bad,
Yeah,
wrong or right.
yeah.
Live your life your
Yeah.
own way. It's your world. You live your
Yeah.
life. But take one step of action on that. We all should believe this same thing. Then I'm like, whoa, okay.
No, well, we shouldn't. I
maybe
mean, we're
not.
all different. And we go back to that. Everybody is the exact same, but completely different. And it's okay to be different.
That's fine, yeah.
It's okay to be different, whether you're a fully able-bodied person or you're not a fully able-bodied person, whether you come from one country or another country, whether you have one cultural background or another cultural background, right? At the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? We all have blood flowing through our system, right? We all have hearts, we all have brains and blah, blah, blah. And we all are allowed to talk and feel and think a certain way. But it's when I impose that on you and go, you fucking better think the way I think, there's an issue. There's an issue. Again, I go back to, it's okay to be offended. It's okay to disagree with somebody. Have mutual respect. When they step over the line where they're going to do physical harm to you or people that you care about or something that you believe in, then you've got cause to stand up and defend that. I believe, you know, to whatever extreme that is. It's down to you. It's not down to me. But I mean, you have to stand up for what you believe is right.
Yeah.
And that started from the beginning of time. It's going to keep going to the end of humanity. Yeah. It's just what it is.
That's humans.
Yeah, it's humans. It's humans. Yeah.
Lovely transition into the next thing we're going to chat about here. Okay. Here's where we get very, very, very colourful and exciting.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You said something at the start, which is the start of a much, much bigger picture here. That if you saw someone slapping the head, excuse me, I'm just spitting across the table there, slapping the head off a woman, you would take grave offence to that,
massive,
and you would intervene.
Yes,
and you are the type of person. And again, this always comes across cliched, but I mean this with the deepest absolute respect and admiration. The type of person who would intervene with a wrongdoing. If I believe that's wrong, 100%. I'm going to make it my business to intervene. Not a lot of people would do that. So genuine respect for that.
I appreciate that.
But you have managed to scale this up to some very lofty heights.
Now I know where you're going with
some
this.
of the other adventures and missions, I suppose I could use the word for that you've been involved in. So whatever direction you want to take on this, I'm going to leave it in your capable hands. But you've been involved in some very, very adventurous pursuits. Let's call it. And I'm going to leave it at that and let you roll.
Well, I suppose we'll talk about the elephant in the room, right? The biggest adventure.
Just a few pounds. Just COVID, which is Jesus.
It's the beard.
But the beard adds a few pounds.
It's one of the best friends I've ever had in my life, and I class him as a brother. Again, I won't mention his name. Because stuff is highly sensitive.
Yeah.
But I got to do some security work for this man before we became really close. I think he's so intelligent and intellectual. He's just phenomenal. And he'd be kind of drip feed me with work to see what my reaction would be and how professional I would be in certain aspects of that security work. And he trusted me to deal with certain peoples of high caliber, whether they're parliamentarians or actors or whatever, in every single walk.
Like bodyguard.
Kind of. Like I was a doorman for 13, 14 years.
Okay.
I worked in all kinds of places, whether they were rough places or whether they were really, really nice places, right? And I've had lots of training in martial arts and different types of training, right? So he kind of trusted me, heard all about it, we became friends, and he's just like, right, do this. And then we had some overseas trips, right? And we've been in some wonderful, wonderful countries. Sometimes really, really scary, and sometimes just really, really cool. So he said to me one day, he goes, okay, we've another overseas trip coming. I'm like, all right, let's go. And he's just like, hold on a minute, haven't told you where we're going yet. I'm like, doesn't matter, let's just pack the bags and go. And he goes, no, look, I need to tell you. Then you make a decision. I'm like, okay, where is it? He goes, we're going to Iraq. And I went, yes, here we fucking go. When are we going? I was all ready for adventure. Because again, one of my kind of things is, if there's adventure going, I'm going to try and do it if I can. Because you need to live your life. And through that little thing, and I'll get back to this, through that little kind of thought process, I've had that since a kid, right? When I was in primary school, I put my hand up and all of a sudden I was in school play. Went to secondary school, put my hand up, all of a sudden was in a massive school play. Put my hand up again, and I was in a hardcore heavy metal punk band, right?
What was the band called?
Right, so I'll give you TIT was the name of the band. Right? Yeah, so the original name for the band was the Thermonuclear Invincible Tyrants, right? It's just a weird
very
kind of hardcore.
Yeah,
of course, right. But then there was another hardcore band. I want to see if I can try and get this correctly. And at the time, I'll just go quickly into that. At the time, the music scene in Dublin was absolutely fucking amazing. There was There's lots of oi bands, lots of skinhead bands, and not racially motivated bands, but just the music, the culture, which originally came from like reggae. You know what I mean? So it was a
Skinhead culture.
Yeah, it comes from reggae. Yeah. All oi music comes from reggae. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Jesus, could you picture two polar?
Yeah, Jimmy Cliff and all of these guys. Yeah, it comes from. That's where it comes from. Okay. The whole two-tone vibe. Yeah. That kicked off when a lot of the people from the Caribbean and Jamaica and all that landed in the UK. They were integrating, they bring some of their music in and blah, 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 blah. Like Northern Soul, and then there was like ska music and blah, blah, blah. And that grew. And then there was punk music. So in Dublin at the time, there was like the big punk scene, lots of really, really cool guys. There was the oi music scene. There was a big goth scene. There was a hip-hop scene. Hip-hop scene was really, really good at the time. This was before House of Pain. So there's a band out there called Scary Area. I don't know if any of the guys will remember this. Savage band, used to play all the time. The DJ was DJ Mech. And he won championships of being a super duper DJ. He used to light his records on fire and do all the scratching. And the singer who's still going now, the main MC, Re-Raw, who's just phenomenal. I mean, super intelligent guy. And then there was MC Tyson, who I know very, very well. Hi, Mandy. And she was a phenomenal. She was the first MC, female MC in this country, and she doesn't get any recognition, and she's going to kill me for saying all this. Super, super talented human being. Super, super, super talented. Anyway, there was that, and it was a really good scene. And then there was all the other extreme music, were a really, really good scene. And I happened to be in one of them. And it's basically because somebody went, oh, Sam, you want to be a singer? I'm like, I can't sing. I have no note in my head. I can scream and shout. Lovely. That's what we want. To put my hand up. We played to hundreds and hundreds of people. We used to play all the time. People used to follow us around. We were supposed to get a record deal. We actually stopped playing music because people were coming and just beating the shit out of each other. So
was
we were
real
just,
mosh culture.
It was real mosh culture. But my ideology would be from a hardcore point. So basically, anybody in the hardcore community, hardcore music, right? If you're doing a mosh and somebody falls on the ground, fucking stop, pick them up, make sure they're all right. We're having a good time. We're on the stage with the band. We're jumping off the stage into the crowd. We're doing all of this, right? I love that. It's not let's beat the shit out of each other. And some of the guys and girls that were coming to our gigs, they just started to beat the shit out of each other. And I went back to that tribalism.
Yeah.
They're from Tallaght, or they're from Crumlin, they're from Finglas. And it was a real... And everybody before that was getting on, and they started beating the shit out of each other. Anyway... We stopped playing because people were just killing each other, and I just wasn't interested. But getting back to the name, right? That name. The other band were called the Thermonuclear Neobarbaric Space Vikings from Hades. What? I know, it's mental. So we just changed our name then. We're just like, we can't be the Thermonuclears because there's two different ones. We'll just be Testicles and Torment. So tit. Yeah. So we were pretty big back in the day. And it was a great time. But again, that's that. I put my hand up for adventure. Right? I know I'm going off track, but I'll come back to it. So it was all about that. Taking adventure when I could. And I ended up doing movies. I ended up parts of movies. I ended up doing some stunt work. I ended up doing this and doing that and loads of different things, right? But Iraq, I was like, right, bro, let's go.
And did you know what was happening at the time?
Yeah, well, like at the time, I mean, yeah, ISIS were just destroying Iraq. People were being kidnapped and murdered. There was children being kidnapped and sold into slavery. They would try to convert them. If they didn't convert them, they were getting killed. They would burn people in cages. I know people. So a very good friend of ours over there, and he became our driver. Really, really cool guy. Really clued in.
A local guy, was he?
A local guy, yeah, from northern Iraq, Erbil. So it's probably, 25 clicks away from Mosul, right? So at the time, the offensive of Mosul was going on. That was a big stronghold for ISIS. But he had a horrible time. His father was kidnapped by ISIS. So what they would do, they would kidnap certain people, and you would pay a ransom. I want $20,000. Of course, you're gonna get that money from somewhere. It doesn't matter. You get it. You hand the money over, and they would execute that person in front of you. This is what you're dealing with, right? This guy was caught up in a bombing in Mosul, one of the biggest universities, world-renowned university. They bombed the university. There was shots fired at the bus. He had to jump off. All this kind of stuff.
So just to set the scene a little bit for people who aren't quite familiar, like me, what was the like the political or religious landscape there in terms of ISIS? Who were the people they were kidnapping?
Well, they would kidnap anybody that didn't agree with their rhetoric, right?
Okay.
Because they were extreme. Again, I just don't like extremists, right?
Yeah.
They were extreme with their version of the Quran.
Okay.
Right? Now, I have lots of friends from lots of different political persuasions, and I love them all because they're good human beings, right? But that extreme shit, I don't agree with it, especially when they're murdering people and doing horrible things. So you predominantly have the Sunni and the Shia, two different factions of the Muslims. Then you would have the Yazidi people. Yazidi people are an indigenous group of people in Iraq, okay? You cannot convert into being a Yazidi. You're born a Yazidi,
okay.
right? So they would try to eradicate these people. There'd be we're not going to try and convert you. We're going to kill you. The women they would take and keep them and rape them daily. Everybody would rape them, right? So on that note, any of the women that would escape, they would set up units and they would go hunting ISIS, right? Because
the women would?
Yeah. And all done by the Kurds, so the KRG, right? The Kurdish people who are in northern Iraq and southern Turkey and all this kind of stuff. So you'd be dealing with them. But then there's something I didn't realise, right? Of course, I'm Irish. I was brought up as a Catholic. I'm not a Catholic. I'm a pagan. I believe in the old ways and all of this kind of stuff. Like my God is the sun and the ocean and the moon and all that, right? But I have respect for everybody's culture and religion. Northern Iraq is full of Catholics, Roman Catholics, but they're Iraqis. And I was like, what? I'm like, yeah. Erbil, where we landed in, that was our main city to move out from, is a Catholic city. So
I did not know that.
Yeah. And I love that because I learned, right?
Yeah.
It was horrific. We were going into a war zone and we had to deal with all kinds of, scary shit. My friend has footage of me going across the top of a cathedral getting shot at by snipers, and we had to hang this bell on the biggest cathedral in northern, or I think it was the biggest cathedral in Iraq, but we had to hang the bell, and the bell got to be rung, and it's basically ISIS, you know what, we fucked you now, we have it. But like that news story was on CNN and all of that kind of stuff, that these people hung the bell and la 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 la. Well, me and my mate and some of the local militias and special forces were involved in that kind of stuff. Like
anyone who's listened to the first part of this podcast is having the same reaction now as I have when I was sitting here listening to you tell us. Hold on, I thought he was a physical therapist.
Yeah.
What's he doing hanging bells in Iraq?
Yeah. But well, you know what? It's just initially we were going over to bring monetary aid to refugee camps for kids, right?
And like monetary aid from Ireland or from private?
No, from NGOs around the world.
Okay.
Right? So basically they would go, what can we do to help these people? Okay. Well, they would, my friend would be employed by them to do the research and go, this is what we can do. Well, go ahead and do it. There's the money.
And I obviously don't want to delve too deep.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk about your friend exactly, but a private contractor who would
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. PMC, like,
Yeah.
So, like, my job was basically, let's get in, do the mission, and get out safely, whatever that takes. Doesn't matter how extreme or unextreme that is. That's my job.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure I'll do that to the best of my ability. No matter what happens, he's my priority to get him in and out. And this is a well-capable individual, let me tell you.
Yeah.
He's a fucking well-capable individual, you know. So we work really, really well.
And I'm imagining, rather than we all put money in a box and send it over to Iraq, that just gets lost. You want to bring the money to where the money needs to go.
Yeah. I mean, there's no middlemen here.
Yeah.
There's no middlemen. There's no CEOs making this.
Yeah.
There's the money.
Get it
Me
there.
and my friend get it into the refugee camp, and we go, what do you need? Like, one of the refugee camps was a half-built tower block by an American company who just decided to fuck off and do another one because they're getting contracted that way and making loads of money. These families were living in this half-built tower block. No running water, no central heating. You're talking 50 to 55 degree heat, okay? Kids with no shoes on their feet, kids with no parents, elderly people, blah, 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 blah. They were all all in this building. So anyway, in we went. Again, these are all Catholics, right?
These are all victims of
These are all victims
conflicts.
from the conflicts in Mosul. So they fled Mosul into Erbil, which is, like, as I said, about 20 clicks away. They came to Erbil just, to be safe, right? So I'm like, holy fucking shit, this is really, really intense, but I'm loving it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a scary situation. I mightn't look like I'm afraid of anything, but I'm afraid of fucking everything, right? But I take it in my stride, right? I take it in my stride. And you got it. So we're dealing with Catholics, these little kids. And my beard at the time, it's longish now, my beard at the time is down here.
I saw pictures,
Yeah. And at the time, it was coming up near December. And they had Christmas trees up.
Saint Nick, here we go.
Yeah. So all the kids are looking at me going, this is, Santa Claus. I like to call myself Insanity Claus. But
I had to sign one of them.
Yeah. But my friend was really, really clued in. Well, when we're away, he's my boss. He was just like, right, at the airport, let's buy a load of jellies, big bags of jellies, and spring them with him. So I was like the Pied Piper. We were just handing out jellies. The smile on these children's faces. It's emotional speaking about it now.
Yeah.
There's no way describing the elation of these children that have nothing, and you're giving them a little bag of Haribo, and they're like, wow, we were brought into this guy's living quarters, probably about the size of your studio, right? Their bed was 2 pallets put together and a blanket on it, right? They had nothing, but they offered us everything they had, tea and food, and we're like, no, but you can't say no, because like our driver who I talked about earlier on, he was just like, don't disrespect them, you need to take it. And it put things into perspective for me. I was completely blown away that these people, whatever they had, how small it was, they were going, there it is, please have that. I appreciate you recognising we have an issue. Thank you for believing in us and trying to help us. So anyway, through negotiations, where I'm not a part of, I just sit back and do whatever. My boss found out what these people needed, right? So they need a generator or the blah, blah, blah. They go out and they get that. So the money doesn't go missing. It's just like, the generator, that costs $5,000 or whatever it costs. Right, there you go. There's the generator. That runs electricity now. Now we can look at getting some air conditioning. Or how do we get supplies? How do we get food in? How do we do this? And that's what happens. There's no middleman. There's none of that bullshit. There's the money. That exact money goes there. Boom. There you go. So the reason why I did that, sorry for cutting across. The reason why I did that is when I was a child, I felt that there was nobody there to help me through all the trauma that I'd been through. From the psychological, the emotional, the physical, the sexual trauma and abuse that I received as a kid. I don't want anybody to ever feel like that. And then that relates into my therapy.
Of course.
I don't want anybody to feel pain. If I can help them, I'll help them. So for me to do that, I was a millionaire. Now don't get me wrong, the money for going over there isn't it's shy.
Yeah, you don't do that for
I'm not doing it for the money. Like a good week in the clinic would be the same, right? Yeah. It's not about the money. And my friend would be saying, look, this is what we're doing. And I'm like, count me in. I will do this for free. I will do it for free. So in turn, I mean, we've been back and forth, I don't know, many times, 5, 6, 7 times, whatever. Sometimes it's for a few days, sometimes it's for a few weeks. It depends on what the mission is. And we've been involved in all different types of missions, humanitarian and non-humanitarian, okay? We got tied into a Christian militia who was fighting ISIS, directly fighting ISIS. Again, the stuff that I can't talk about and I won't, but I'll give you a little bit of a brief, right? These guys, this small city of Karakush, Baghdad, right, was disarmed, right, by the government. Let's just say the government, right? And they were told to put their trust in these people who disarmed them, okay. Right? 2 weeks later, the general that we deal with, the general that I was able to work with and do the bit of bodyguarding and looking after him right through my friend, he was called by an American general from Baghdad. Our satellites are at the picking up ISIS. They're on their way. And it's a big mob of them. You're talking 2,000 ISIS fighters, right? Tooled up to the fucking hilt. You need to get the fuck out. These guys have no weapons to fight. There's 10,000 people in the small city, right? So they evacuated most of it. But the young guys, the young men and the old men, like that general, who was just just a beautiful man. He retired from the Iraqi Air Force and he became a school teacher because he used to be a school teacher, right? This guy's in his fucking 70s and he's like the head of these, you know, Christian militia fighting against the tyranny of ISIS. Now, again, as I said, I'm not a Christian, I'm a pagan, but it doesn't matter. What's right is right in my mind and what's wrong is wrong, you know, in my belief. So we got to do some training with these guys, you know, help them out a little bit, and help them prepare for the fight against ISIS. Yeah, and we were there. We got recognition for this over there. They had a big Easter parade because their religion is a part of their culture or a part of their identity, and we were kind of pride of place, and you know, lots of military guys there, and just locals, men and women and kids, and celebrating Easter for the first time in 4 years. We were able to be involved in that. At whatever level you want to imagine, we were involved in that, okay? And it was quite surreal. But we got to do some wonderful, beautiful work. And to see people coming back to their homes was just amazing. Now, again, I'm working, so I'm like, you know, poker faces on and blah, blah, blah. The general wants me standing beside him, make sure everything's all right. We're kind of looking, watching, you know, make sure everything's good to go. There's no threats from anybody and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we were given certificates, awards. We were patched into the local militia. I have pictures of all of that kind of stuff. We got patched in. You were part of the militia. We kind of worked with and trained with the special reactionary force. They were fighting ISIS. They'd be like the special forces. The special forces who were trained by the Navy SEALs to go out and just make sure that, you know, everybody was being looked after. So we got to do lots of stuff with them. And then on the last trip that we were out, we got to tie in with them again, right? Which is just unbelievable to see these guys again. And we got some pictures taken. We got to do some stuff with them again, just, you know, just to be out. But that's like some of the stuff. There's other stuff, you know, that is mind blowing. I've seen some weird stuff and some very scary stuff. But it's adventure that I'm glad I was involved in, and I want to be involved again, and we will be. I'm hoping there's no more war and tyranny. Absolutely, but it's the fact that I get to help people, and again, there was nobody there to help me when I was a kid. I felt, but there was the last time as well when we got to tie in with the guys. We went to a Yazidi camp, refugee camp, small camp. And again, these are the ones that ISIS are trying to just eradicate, right? And we organised through our driver and another military guy that we work with over there. And he's just a stone cold killer. He's a lovely man, right? And he was a Christian fighting in the Iraqi army. And the Iraqi army is mostly Muslim, right? And these guys loved him. And they loved him so much, these Muslim guys were going, it's not about religion. It's about being Iraqi. They would wear crucifixes in honour of him.
The Muslims would?
Yeah. The Muslims that he was fighting with. They're like, we're the brotherhood here. We're fighting for the goodness of our country as Iraqis. And I was just like, you know, goodness transcends all of that fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, there's these guys who, their religion is their identity, and their religion is their identity. But there's an enemy that's eradicating them all. Let's come together. And for any one of them soldiers to put on a crucifix is huge.
Yeah.
If you're in that part of the Middle East, it's huge. And they did that for him. And he was involved in a lot of action, and we were there with him, and we were there for the offensive of Mosul. You know, when they start going at Mosul, we were there. And it was again a very surreal.
This is like a fucking movie. Like, it's mad. And I'm sure most people, and again, we'd be very sensitive about the actual details. But how do you were there obviously on a security detail.
There, security detail, and then it just kind of progressed.
So
from
there's
there.
a skill set that you need to be.
There's a skill set that I have.
So where do you didn't get that in PT college?
I didn't get that in PT college. No, I got that somewhere else.
Yeah. So, but you it was full on. Like, what I like about this kind of story is we get a lot of high level stuff about what's going on in Iraq.
Yeah.
And it's the Muslims and it's ISIS and it's and that. But you very rarely hear the human stories about the 70-year-old general or about the Muslim soldiers wearing crucifixes. Like that's a real representation of these. Because here, especially with our type of culture, Irish, and well, it's kind of Americanized culture.
Yeah, well, it is now. It's a bastardized culture.
It's a bastardized culture. But we look at the Muslims. And they're just so different from us. Yeah, but we live around Muslim people every single day. But we don't really understand that culture because we have. It's kind of like most of the movies that we would watch have the Muslim terrorist.
Yeah.
If it's a terrorist, it's a Muslim
Yeah,
person
yeah.
with a bomb. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying this is the
mindset.
The mindset.
But that was us. You go back 30 years ago, it was the Irish.
Yeah.
We're the terrorist, we're the killer.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get
Yeah.
me? But
It's way more nuanced than that.
Well, it's social media and media driven.
Yeah, it's a headline culture.
Yeah, of course it is. And as you touched on that earlier on. I mean, look, as I said to you before, once you're not a cunt.
Once you're not a cunt,
I've got loads of friends, loads of Muslim friends who are fighters too, man. And just fucking these guys are just phenomenal. But they are beautiful human beings. Like, I've got all these different friends and they're all beautiful human beings. I don't care their religion. I care that they're a good human being, you know.
I think it's very, very hard. This is where kind of you hear people who travel, they're a little bit more enlightened.
Yeah.
They're not enlightened. They have a bit of perspective on humans. But when you go and you see an Iraqi child, and you see this child and you touch this child and you give this child the little bag of Haribo and you talk to their family and you see where they're living, for you, it's very real.
Yeah.
For me, it's just another headline on the news because I see this all the time, and Iraqi children are being killed, and isn't it terrible? And we're all good people, but we're completely hyper exposed and desensitized.
Well, that's the thing. We're desensitized
to what that means.
Yeah.
Like I have now, I'm not well travelled like you would be well travelled, but I spent some time in, I suppose South Africa's the best example of this.
Beautiful. I've got family that are South African.
A very, very difficult place to be right now because there's all sorts of political stuff going on. But beautiful people, and you see these shanty towns and these black and white and coloured people, and you hear these stories, and you're like, that's what this is.
The humanity behind it.
Yeah, it's not a picture on a troco box, because that's all I kind of knew before.
Yeah.
These people are lovely.
Yeah.
And when you do that kind of travel, you meet these people, it does give you a real appreciation. Yeah. But as soon as you come back to where you're from and you're in your comfortable bubble, that starts to leak away a little bit.
Right.
And I haven't been there in a while now, and I'm always kind of trying to remind myself, what was it like meeting those people? And if you have never travelled, you have no perspective on that. You just get it in the headlines. And you get the us versus them, and you get whatever the agenda is at the time, whatever the media agenda is. But I've heard from so many people, you mentioned something there about when you meet these people who have nothing, it's such a cliche, and they want to give you everything. I've experienced that in my life. You've experienced that in your life. I spoke to a couple of other people who travel to places where they literally have nothing and they give you everything. And I always try and understand why we're so different. And it's just a human condition. We live in this world, so our hardships in our brain are as hard as that poor Iraqi child with no family, no house. It's because it's just perspective for us, which is why I think it's so valuable to experience these things, and to tie it back into the conversation we had earlier on, to talk to people who live different lives than you and have different outlooks and have different backgrounds, because it helps you understand. Do you know what? Maybe it's not that bad that I didn't get to upgrade my car this year. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you, as you say, a cunt.
No.
But I think you should always strive to have a little bit more perspective. Now, we're all not going to go get to security detail in fucking Mosul. But I'm sure you look at that as a privilege.
Well, I do. I mean, look, everything in this life is a privilege. Everything. We have a right to nothing. Some people think they have a right to everything.
Human rights don't exist. We made them up. I mean, look, I want to be a happy, healthy person. I want to love and be loved. I want to treat people with respect, humility and integrity. But there's no... Some people don't respect that.
Yeah, but like it's not there. It's not your God-given right. My biggest problem, and it was a crossroads I came to, and I believe in fairness, right? And for me, fairness is black and white. And then I realised one day, after so much trauma and mental anguish and being angry, I was just like, the world is not fair. Just because you want it to be fair in your eyes, in your opinion, doesn't mean it is that way. And the world is a very unfair, unforgiving, cruel place. I've seen it firsthand. Whether it's on the streets of Dublin, whether it's when it's at home, whether it's in these wonderful places that I got to visit, it's a cruel, horrible world. It's a part of our nature, our human nature, right? Which is fucking horrible. But we talked about this with combat sports earlier on. It's a part of it. Conflict is in us, right? For whatever fucking reason. But if we go back to perspective, so when I get back off the plane into Dublin, blah, 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 I go to Blanchardstown Shopping Centre when it was open before all of this shit. I would sit down in Starbucks downstairs at the fountain on the outside, just sitting there watching people going by. And I'm looking at kids screaming because their phone's not good enough, and they're giving out to their parents and fucking a phone on the ground. Like, you want a new iPhone for €1,300? You're 12, motherfucker. You're 12, you know. I look at all of these things, and it puts things into perspective. And I have a very good grasp of wants and needs, and it's okay for both of them. What I need in my life is love, because it's the most powerful energy in the world. Again, I'm being a bit of a hippie. A roof over my head, food in my belly. That's all I need, and that's all and a motorbike. Well, one or two. Yeah. And that's all anybody really needs. The wants are extra. Yeah. I want the big house. I want all of this money. I want that motorbike. I want that car. I want to go on them holidays. It's okay to have them wants, but I think it's very important to realise the difference between the wants and the needs. I've seen both at extremes, and it can be quite horrific. You know, again, it's all about perspective. Another type of perspective I had. I have the honour of working with disabled children. Not only disabled children, disabled adults, right? Yeah. And this one girl in particular, we'll go back to the Iraqi stuff again. This one girl in particular, and her parents, I know her dad very well, and her mum was trying to get me to work on her for a long time. And in fairness, I was trying to dodge the whole situation because I didn't think I had the skill set in me to help her. So anyway, we were at a 70th birthday party, because I'm at that age in my life. We were at a 70th birthday party, and her mum, Michelle, said, "You need to work on Sai. You know, come up." And I was just like, okay. Anyway, so eventually I pulled up outside the house a week later or whatever it was, got my shit together, walked in the door. Michelle said to me, "Look, she's not even going to know you're there." All right? I think she was 7 or 9 at the time. I can't really remember. She's not even going to know you're there. Now, she is 24-hour palliative care. Right? She has a sensory room. She's on medication. She's fed through her stomach. She's no control over any of her faculties. None of this, right? Jesus. And in I went, trying to have the poker face on, but still shocked at this beautiful little angel, because they're calling me little angel, right? And innocent to the whole world. And as soon as I put my hands on her, she knew I was there. There was this massive, I'm getting emotional now talking about this massive connection. And she looked at me. I was just like, oh, okay, right. So I did some basic massage and mobility techniques. Now, she would be flailing around. Her nurse would be there, her mum would be there, and whatever. So I left. I sat in my car outside the house, and I cried my eyes out for 20 minutes. Completely destroyed. Completely. And I just thought, I can't help this girl. And what the fuck is all this about? Is this a test for me? Was this to basically put me back in my box? What is this all about? And I left. So I went home, got a phone call the next morning, and it was her mum, it was Michelle. And she's like, so happy. She's so happy. And I said, everything all right? She goes, that's the first time that child has got a full night's sleep in her whole life. Now, she's medicated. But even with the medication, she'd be awake. Yeah. And she's asleep and awake and asleep. It's the first time in her life she's had a night's sleep. I cried my eyes out again. Yeah. Again, I'm feeling that little bit of a lump in my chest here now, you know. I cried my eyes out again. I was just like, now I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah.
It's just that little bit of contact, a little bit of love, caring about what I'm doing.
That connection, that instinct.
100%.
My fiancée, Donna, I've mentioned to you, she's an occupational therapist. She works with a lot of children with various different difficulties. And she would be particularly well tuned in to connection.
Yeah.
And the importance of, she studied and she trained and she's done all the courses. She knows all the techniques. Sure. But there's many children who don't respond well to those techniques, and they're written off.
Yeah.
And I've watched and listened and heard stories about her working with children, and all it takes is that bit of connection. And the child might be non-verbal, doesn't understand, might have dyspraxia, dyslexia, a million different dyslexia or whatever, can't engage with the world on a basic communicative level. So that little bit deeper, the touch, the deep pressure, just the feeling of a person being near them.
It's the caring element of it.
And again, this is very, very hard for someone to understand because it's not black and white. You can't write it down and measure it and quantify it. It's a feeling and an energy. And it's not hippy dippy because I know it's real because I've experienced it from the professional and from the patient point of view on many occasions. I experience it now when we're having this type of conversation.
Yeah, of course.
That child, and I've never had the privilege of working with children like this, but I'm sure that child just felt that human connection.
100%.
And it's insane what it can do for a person.
It's just, you know what, look, and in my clinic, no matter what aspect I'm working on or working with or whatever, it's an individualistic thing.
Yeah.
It's not one thing for everybody. I might use similar or the same techniques on clients, but it's an individual thing. I have to take into account them as a human being, their personalities, their physical attributes, their emotional state, all of these different things. When I got to work with Soiv at the start, I mean, I was just absolutely blown away by how much of an amazing, beautiful human being this little girl was. She's got bright red curly hair and she's got lovely eyes and she's just amazing, you know. And sometimes I would feel off her, you know. I would just go in and go, all right, she's not letting me do anything today. Nothing. She's like, I'm fucking having none of this. Yeah. So we put on a movie on the thing, on the TV in our sensory room, and the two of us just lie there, just looking at a movie. And she would smile, and I would sing to her. Her dad was savage. Her dad just come in and reef over her and pull her tongue out. You little bitch. And she loved it. She loved her dad. So when he come in, she'd feel that energy. She'd go, oh. But then she started to do that for me too. And again, it was just that lovely, beautiful connection. I was like, oh my God. And I have some video footage on my phone from a few years ago. So I'm lying on my back and she's lying on her back. So we're head to head, feet pointing away from each other, okay? So I'm videoing, I have the phone over my head and video. And I'm looking, and I look at her eyes and I could see her, she starts to smile. I'm like, you little bitch, you're about to punch me in the fucking head. And her arms are swelling and bang on money. Boom, bang. Straight in the nose. I'm like, you fucking wagon, you, what the fuck? And she's laughing. From a child who's not supposed to be able to have any of this. Yeah. You know? Now she's in Spain getting specific therapy. I was lucky enough to go over there and help them set up to get that. And it was supposed to be back and forth there, but with lockdown, you know,
of course.
It can't happen. But I mean, she's just a bundle of pure love. And sometimes it's manual, sometimes it's just sitting there. Yeah, you know, and it's just a beautiful thing. But I get to do that with all different types of clients. But with little kids like that,
that's amazing.
It's like she's not supposed to be alive. She was supposed to die straight after she was born. She's 13 now. She's
That's
13
nuts,
now. Yeah.
Breaking the rules again.
Yeah, amazing.
I don't usually do this, but I'm going to ask you a question on behalf of our listeners, right? So from all of that, like we touched on so many different aspects of your life that you apply the same principles to all these different things, whether it's helping a child who's non-communicative and non-verbal, to working with elite athletes, to helping people in your clinic, to helping yourself on a day-to-day basis, to going to Iraq and helping people over there. Yeah. What I like about being able to do this podcast and have these conversations is sometimes people are helped and learn how to help themselves. Sure. But if you were to, and I'm putting on the spot here now, and I don't really do this.
That's okay.
If you were to talk to somebody who might be listening to this now, especially at this stage when it's, look, things are relative. Nobody who probably is listening to this is a homeless child in Iraq, touch wood.
Of course.
But we're dealing with our own struggles at the moment, and we're going through lockdowns, and it's people. Some people are scared, some people are angry, some people are losing their jobs. Yeah, a lot of negative energy, I suppose, at the moment. What kind of starting point or basic? It doesn't have to be specific tips. What kind of advice would you give people who are just finding things a bit more difficult at the moment? Yeah. And now, some people, their problems might seem minute to the child in Iraq, but to that person, I mean, it's relative. It's in your head.
Sometimes it's a life or death thought.
Could be a life or death thought, yeah.
With me, it boils down to, because of my illness, but not only my illness, but because of the pressure of what we're going through now, it's a life and death thing sometimes. Yeah. You know, I've had a rope around my neck. Yeah. I've had a shotgun in my mouth. I've had the bottle of whiskey and the tablets on the table. I've had that. Yeah. You know, and thank God I'm out the other side of it.
Touch wood.
Yeah. So, but I fight with that all the time. Like, there's not many days I don't fight with that. and it's absolutely fucking horrific. So what might seem trivial to one person is absolutely devastating to another, and I would never put anybody down for feeling a certain way, or what's the catalyst to have them thinking them bad thoughts. Like, I was at a friend's funeral, my friend's wife, who was just a beautiful human being, and she was through the mill. And I won't say their names. I just want to protect them. So the husband and the wife and the kids were just through an awful time, and she was only a young woman, and cancer got her, and she went, right. So that's like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, at that funeral. And again, I was standing outside. It was horrific for me to see the lack of people there through these government
restrictions,
guidelines, you know. And I was just like, we should be able to show love and respect for the people that we care about, and support to the, you know, husbands or wives or mothers or fathers or daughters, whatever. Give them that support to say, look, we're here for you, we feel for you. But the few that were there were spread out around the outside of the grounds, you know. And a friend of mine is also a client of mine. He's a lovely, lovely man. His name is Paul. He's just a gentleman. He was there for the same thing, right? And of course, we were socially distant, having this conversation. This man is probably one of the most upbeat, happy human beings I've ever come across in my whole life. And he's just like, oh, I'm struggling here. I'm struggling. I struggle with this and I struggle with that. And it's just like, I'm like, well, brother, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. You are not on your own. When you're in the depths of it, it's very hard to realise you're not on your own, because you feel so alone, you know. You feel you're a burden to everybody. You feel so sad and unhappy that you just want all the pain in your head to stop. For me, that's how I get, right? But Paul was able to relate that to me, and I was able to tell him back, I feel like that all the time. And you're experiencing this now. So it's more horrific for you because you've never experienced this before. It's like, what the fuck is that? You doubt everything in your life. Everything. And for the people who have never dealt with mental illness, who are now dealing with massive depression on a huge scale, whether it's, I can't walk out the door.
Yeah.
I can't go to the park and climb the mountains with my kids. My kids can't go to school. Like, there's lots of different aspects we could go on about. But it's the realisation that you're not on your own. You're never going to be on your own. You are loved and you love. And again, that's super, super important. Sometimes for me, I cannot leave my little cabin that I'm living, little cabin in the woods I live in, up the back of my friend's land. I can't leave it. And I struggle with, I know where there's a shot going, I'm just going to fucking take my head off. I don't want to be here anymore, you know. I struggle with that. And over the last while, since lockdown started, to be more dark days than good days. And you said this to me before. So, like, what drives you to kind of get and do something? You asked me to be on a podcast. I had a goal. Right, I want to be up here and do this podcast, right? Because we got to be friends, right? Yeah. And I respect you as a human being. I think you're a great person to be around, great energy. And I needed that. I needed that every day, but I needed it today. So that's why I'm here. I still had the struggle coming out the door, right? That's why I was 10 minutes late. I had the struggle coming out the door going, I could just fucking send him a text. I don't want to call because I see my phone ring and I have a shy hemorrhage. I'm one of them, right? My anxiety goes through the roof. I could just send a big D a message. I mean, could we do this again? And then we'd never do it. So you giving me the goal for today has me out of my place and here. This for me, this conversation, this whole podcast is therapy for me because it helps me realise you give a fuck about me. Yeah. Other people give a fuck about me. You know?
Yeah.
My partner gives a fuck about me. You know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
But again, it's when you're in them deep, dark depths, you think nobody cares about you.
Yeah.
And it's a part of that journey. I've lost, I would say, 9 people to suicide. Nine people to suicide. I've lost an awful lot of people along the way, right? Through loads of different things, right? Through natural causes, whether it's young or old, through people being murdered through accidents on bikes or cars or whatever, and suicide, right, and disease and all these things, and none of it gets any easier. I think what I've noticed is the older I get, the more emotional I'm getting. It's like every time I go to a funeral, it's not just about that funeral. It's about all the other funerals before that. And if it's, for me, now I don't know about anybody else's relation to this, for me it's every single one of them funerals I just get more emotional and emotional. And it's snowballing. And I'm an empath. So I feel other people's pain, you know. And I'll give you that last funeral. I'll just give you a little story. I seen strength, love, pain, sadness, depression in one go. Okay, one go. And I had to sit down. There was a little bench at the outside of the church. I had to sit down, right? My friend, who's the father, right? He was putting his wife in the coffin in the back of the car. His son came out. He was only a young kid. And his son was the straw. Just like I knew my friend was the straw. But he was being so strong for his child. And he hugged his kid. And he held him so tightly. And I could see what he was saying. It's okay, son. We're going to be all right. We're going to be okay. I was completely blown away. I was lost for words. That was probably the strongest thing I've ever seen in my life. Ever. Nothing has ever beaten that moment for me. And I'm emotional talking about it now. What that man is going through, like, and the children, I don't think they really understand it just yet. Like, the mom is gone, you know, and she's never coming back. But he is just taking all that on his shoulders. And that man is a broken man. A broken man. Look, the love of his life. The mother of his children, you know. And a sweetheart. There was no badness in this woman. I ran the London Marathon a few years ago. A big gang of us went over. And that woman was there meeting us halfway through the marathon to make sure we're all right. And just smiles and happiness. And since I've known her from then, that's all she was smiles and happiness. And the unfairness of this fucking world and cancer to take her away from that. But that moment in time, I'll get back to that. He just hugged his son. And it looked like he was hugging him for 2 hours, was probably 15 seconds. And that man got in his own car and put his children in his own car and followed the hearse. He drove his own car behind his wife in the coffin. I'm like, fuck me. If there's ever bravery and strength, I witnessed it right there. And in all of that sadness, I was honoured to witness that person, that human being, do that for his child and his other children and himself. That's, for me, that's just fucking phenomenal. The strength of the human character, the strength of love. You know, there's lots of other people I know wouldn't be able for that. They'd be fucking gone. I know I'd be distraught. I don't think I'd be able to hold me shit together. Although I have done for other people that I've lost along the way. But I mean, yeah, nothing will ever give me that again.
Well, I think you've answered the question there in a very beautiful way, because I asked you what kind of advice would you give, and you've answered it by, like, you're here, you help other people, you tap into that strength in your own way. So you looking at your friend like that and saying, I don't know, could I ever do that? That's a very familiar feeling for people who are struggling with their head. I don't know, could I do that? Like you mentioned the shot, will I just get the shot? Will I just end? I can't do that. I can't do what all these other people are doing. But you can, and you're consistently doing it, and you're doing it for loads of other people. I think part of the human condition is you don't look at yourself that way. So in terms of what somebody who doesn't know you, who just listened to that story, can extract from that for themselves, whether they're in the darkest hole they've ever been in, or they're just not happy, or they're not, it's all relative and down to perspective.
Yes, absolutely.
You do have the strength. And if you don't, other people will help you.
100%.
There is good out there. Like that man helped his children. You would do anything for that man. He would probably 100%. Do anything for you. 100%. You helped the children in Iraq. That exists. And I know from my own personal perspective, just knowing that exists, whether you're thinking about yourself or not. You just said there you don't think you're that strong. Yeah, I can see it in you. You do it for other people.
That's a lovely thing to say.
But to know that exists, sometimes that's enough.
Yeah.
That gives you back that, how you talked about when people know there's a solution to their physical problem.
Yeah.
They're like, the weight lifts.
Yeah.
If you can listen to Dahi
Yeah,
Quinn's
yeah,
story there,
Yeah.
and the amazing things that you've done, the amazing thing that man did for his children, you kind of look at that and go, that it exists.
Oh, it does exist.
And sometimes that can be enough just to go, right,
Yeah.
I feel terrible right now,
Yeah.
but I'm not by myself. I might be sitting in this room by myself, and I might be really, really scary. And
People care about you. They love you. They love you.
I'm not a piece of shit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you're definitely not, bro. You're definitely not. You're
appreciate
a
that.
wonderful human being, but no, you hit the nail on the head there. You know, you're loved and people care about you.
You're loved and people
And
care
what
about you.
goes down must come up. But
Don't-
what goes up must come down.
Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Don't
And-
live in the grey.
No, I experience that day to day, month to month, year to year.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm down for 6 months. Sometimes it's an hourly thing. I'm up and
Yeah.
down.
But you know the up exists.
Yeah, well, I'm aware of it now. Like I'm very accepting of my illness, right? And it's an illness I have. And again, I'm medicated, and the medication is like a plaster over the wound that helps me cope.
Yeah.
Right? If I don't take my medication, I get this little glint in my eye, and then shit's gonna go wrong, right? Again, but when it goes wrong, I'll put my hand up and I'd fuck that up, right? Whether your safety net is your medication, whether your safety net is your significant other, or your family, or your football team, or the guy that you spar with, or it's the fucking ocean, there's something out there that will drive you to give you that big warm heart and get love in your soul, and know that you're cared for and cared about, and you also care for and care about other people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's a very, very important thing to be aware of that. But when you're down in that fucking hole, and my psychiatrist, loads of them, they would ask me, so when you're down, how do you feel? I'm like, well, first off, I want to cut my own fucking head off. I want to cut my own head off. Don't care what pain that is, I'll cut my own fucking head off to stop the crazy roundabout I'm on, right? Because I can't take the madness in my brain anymore. But when I'm in the depths of it, I'd say to them, it's like getting the biggest, longest, darkest well, right? Wrapping me up in a load of damp cloths and sleeping bags and tying the knot and fucking drop me down the end of that. And I have to climb 200-300 feet. Get out of that bag and then blankets and climb 200 or 300 feet in the dark, wet, pissy fucking shit with no grip to get out to see that little bit of sunlight right at the top of that little hole. And I know that sunlight's there. And how hard that climb is, you keep going. Again, like I fail sometimes. Fucking, hold on a minute. I went through this stage of the rope I was going to kill myself with was a blue rope. I have no idea why. It was a blue washing line. And I think it's something got to do with my childhood, right? And I was fixated on this. But then it changed as I got older and experienced other things. But I'm lucky enough to still be here. Why? Because I'm loved.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I have that. But I also love back. You know, and again, that goal, you gave me a goal. You said to me, would you be interested in doing that podcast? I'm like, yeah, love to. And of course, I shit myself this morning. Like I do with lots of things. Again, like I look a certain way, but it doesn't mean I act that way, you know. Yeah. And look, even 2 days ago, Drew said, when are you doing the podcast? Oh yeah, we're doing it Tuesday. All right. And then I was just like, well, he's waiting for me to fucking do it. So now there's two people waiting for me to fucking do
You're
it.
accountable.
Yeah, I'm like, oh shit. So, but I still had to go through that sentence, if you will, right, of the first letter is, or the first word is, all of that fucking doubt. To get yourself together, get in the shower, clean yourself, get some food into you, prepare the car, and like what seems like mediocre is a big deal for me when I'm feeling that way.
Yeah.
My point to this is, if other people can relate to this, it's okay. Because I know how you feel. And now you know how I feel.
Yeah.
Right? Again, I sat in the car going, I could just fucking text the big man and say, no. But I knew you were here.
I would have gotten in my car and I would have gone to your cabin in the middle of the woods, would have hunted you down, brought the mics and said, no, we're doing this.
Yeah.
But no, look, you've explained it really poetically there, which is beautiful, because it's like some people really connect.
Yeah.
When like you've been very, very candid and honest and emotional, which I absolutely really appreciate and respect. because a lot of the time we get the headline, we get the it's okay to not be okay, and there's not much beneath it. There's not a story there that you can kind of go, that sounds a lot like me. And to be very fair to you, it hasn't just happened, and it wasn't just me asking to come on the podcast. You have a system of things. You get up and you do it.
I do.
You get into I'm doing mode.
Yeah.
I'm going to wash my face. I'm going to get into the car. I'm going to, and by the more things that you do, the more you kind of, right, I'm conquering this now because I've gotten into the car. Might seem like a small thing. It's a fucking mountain for me.
Huge thing,
but I'm in the car. So I think like my biggest takeaway from that, because it resonates really, really strongly with me, is take the small wins. Just that thing that's in front of you. Put my right shoe on. Right, it's on. Put my left shoe on. Right, it's on. Trust that process. Please trust that process, because it doesn't mean you're never going to go back down to the dark place again. But those little tiny steps, I believe, and what I'm hearing from your story,
100%. You're bang on the money.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be grandiose and doesn't have to be, well, I'm never going to get there, so why bother? Those little tiny steps.
Well, it's like everything you do is the letter to a word, the word to a sentence, the sentence to a paragraph to get you through the day.
Yeah.
You know, and I break it down that way for me.
Yeah.
And whether it's getting washed or getting out of bed, you know, I've sat in my place, not washed, haven't eaten, haven't drank water, haven't gone to the toilet, and I'm sitting there in the dark, doubting everything.
Yeah.
But when I'm capable of putting that sentence together, putting that paragraph together, I'm out, I'm here.
You're here.
Or I'm going to the shop and get some food, or
you're in Iraq.
Yeah, or I'm in Iraq, or I'm in the White House, or I'm in the Pentagon. I'm dealing with, you know, top government aides from around the world. I'm involved in negotiations that's going to help people in Iraq. I get to save children, you know, and all these different things. So I'm a very blessed human being, you know.
We've only scratched the surface, I know, on this novel that is the life of Daithí O'Quinn. But I think let's wrap this one up
100%.
with the promise from you to me that you're going to come back for another podcast.
100%. If you're willing to have me, I'd love to come back.
Willing, absolutely. I'd be privileged to have you back.
I'd love that. Yeah.
Before I let you go,
sure.
If people have been listening to this and say, do you know what, I'd love a pint with that fella, or I'd love to go and have a bit of treatment with that fella, or I just want to reach out and have a chat with that fella,
100%.
Where is the best place to find you?
Instagram is probably the best bit. So Life Spiral.
Life Spiral
on Instagram. Just drop me a message. I'm on Messenger on Facebook, but I got off Facebook. I tried to detoxify myself from a lot of social media.
Now,
I mean, a lot of it can be toxic, and it's full of lies and bullshit. You know. So Instagram will probably be number one. Once you touch base with me on Instagram, then we can exchange phone numbers, and then we can take it from there. Beautiful. You know. But yeah, contact me. But it doesn't matter if it's, you know, therapy, or if it's a beer, or, you know, you seem like you understand what I'm going through. Any chance we can have a conversation? Yeah, whether it's through text or whether it's, how's it going? I'll meet you in the park. You can be over there and I'll be over here, and we can have that conversation. You know what I mean?
Deadly.
So whatever aspect of that is, if I can do something positive to help someone, I will.
Yeah.
So yeah, hook me up anytime.
And a little teaser for the next episode. If you fancy getting your sword and your spear out and going fighting in the woods, Daithí O'Quinn's a good man to call as well.
100%, yeah. That's why I like to swing an axe and throw a sword.
We'll leave that there as a little bit of mystery, as a little bit of hope for the next episode. Mr. Daithí O'Quinn, it's a pleasure on mic, off mic, on text and voice message, whatever kind of interactions that we usually have. It's always a pleasure.
Thank
it's
you
always
so
enriches
much,
my life, as grandiose that might sound, but I really appreciate you being here, brother.
Anytime, my brother, anytime.
And we will see you in the next episode.
100%.
That was just mental. I remember sitting there after first hearing Daithí's story, wondering what the hell I just listened to. And you can take my word for it, there are plenty more stories that he couldn't tell me on mic. He's such an interesting guy. Thank you, Daithí. If you want to get in touch with me, you can drop me a DM on Instagram or Facebook at PrimalPro, PRYMALPRO, or shoot me an email at podcast@primal.ie. And all the information you need for Daithí and everything we discussed today is in the show notes over at www.primal.ie/Daithí O'Quinn. If you enjoyed this episode, send me a message and let me know. I always appreciate the feedback on the podcast. And if you're feeling especially enterprising, head over to Apple Podcast and leave a rating and a review. A quick side note, we're going to take a very short break from the podcast for a couple of weeks, but watch this space because we have plenty of quality guests lined up. So I will see you all very soon.